Ladies and gentlemen, it is showtime. Please enjoy the show.
It's the corner where the treats at.
Is this the passing of the torch, right? Is this what this signifies?
It comes down to that front office and what they feel is most important.
The champ is here. We've touched down from a higher plane. Why you made it here?
We always look forward to that week because it was always intense.
You know that we ain't coming back. We about to.
The man, the myth, the legend, Dante Hall. My favorite player growing up was Dante Hall. I love you guys in the show, but Dante was my guy.
Get to dashing because you done on the warfare.
It's week 8 and Monday Night Football is back at Arrowhead as the Kansas City Chiefs host the Washington Commanders. The Chiefs are 11.5-point favorites, and you can feel it. The team is heating up. Rashee Rice is back in rhythm. Mahomes and Kelce have the offense clicking again, and the defense just keeps making big-time plays. FanDuel has every angle covered, from Mahomes' passing props to Rice's receiving yards, to how this defense matches up against Washington's young offense. Want even more action? Build your own same-game parlay and ride with the Chiefs' kingdom under the primetime lights. With fast payouts and an app that's smoother than a Mahomes sidearm throw, FanDuel makes every snap feel bigger. And don't forget, every Friday on Chief Concerns, we drop our best 5-leg same-game parlay for the weekend, plus JD's 10 keys to victory, breaking down exactly how the Chiefs can handle business on Monday night and keep stacking wins. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and make every snap count. Monday Night Football at Arrowhead. Chiefs, Commanders, primetime belongs to Kansas City. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Chief Concerns. I'm Marcus Dash, and Chief Concerns presented by FanDuel. And download the Sportsbook app and, place your wagers on some Chiefs games. So tonight, as I made mention on Twitter, JD is not going to be on tonight, and Tasia will not be on either. So we are going to have a special guest to help co-host a show with us. And if you were around the Chief Concerns from, 2 or 3 years ago, you would definitely remember this guy. This guy was on our post-game shows. Before Tasia was on our post-game shows, we had our guy, Lance Twidwell. Lance the Spoken. Probably, I call him the infamous Lance the Spoken, but if you guys, you have a Twitter account, an X account, you definitely can't go a minute without seeing this guy come across your timeline. Some of the most, some would say controversial tweets. I don't think they're controversial. Maybe some of them, but I love the guy, so I don't see him as controversial. I see him as his takes, and I agree with most of them. Sometimes I don't. And one of them we'll actually talk about tonight. But tonight's gonna be a great show. For being a midweek in week 8. There's actually a lot of off-season speculation, not off-season speculation, but a lot of trades and some stuff going on here tonight. So lots of stuff to get into, and obviously we'll preview the Commanders game on Monday night. And we have a lot of stuff to get into. Tonight's episode, I did want to go out. I can't go without saying, JD's out tonight. JD is going to be spending time with his nephew, Chad, our guy, Chad, who's a great member of the Chief Concerns community. As you guys know, he had a procedure the other day, and JD is spending time with him. JD wanted to focus on Chad, and it's understandable, and we understand that. And I want to give love and prayers to Chad. If Chad's watching this, we love you, buddy. And JD, we love you too, buddy. And we're sending all of our love and prayers to you all during this time. And everybody, please send out all the prayers and love. That goes a long way, and that's how we operate on the Chief Concerns channel. Sharing love, the joyous, energetic energy that we love to share with everybody. Send that all over to JD, and we'll get into it. So tonight, I'm seeing we have a good amount of people in the chat. Of course, it's the midweek show, so everyone knows it's time to come on to Chief Concerns. But I want to give a shout out to our guy, Lance the Spoken, who's going to be coming on here now. So Lance has spoken. It's one of those things, right? Where you guys talk. I've talked about my relationship with JD, how that developed over, friendship that developed online during COVID. DM'd him on LinkedIn, and that was it. Rest is history. And a friendship that brewed from social media during COVID. Now this guy Lance, that we're about to bring on, it's another relationship that developed during COVID, during a time of 2020 where everyone's just hacking away at the keyboard. We developed a relationship. I think it started from a DM or a retweet or something. And from that on, man, we just became buds. And it's Tage and I always talk about how it's like, we never hung out with Lance before, but for some reason, there's this like a special connection that we have with the guy. It feels like a dude we grew up with, who just happened to move to Kansas City. So yeah, it's going to be a really good show. Go for KC forever. Yes. Lance the Spoken is a Chiefs fan. And yeah, he's got roots and he is from that area. So you guys, yeah, he's a Chiefs fan. He's a lifer. He's a lifer for sure. Dustin Orton coming from the Spoken Podcast. Yes, sir. The Spoken Podcast indeed. So, all right. So I'm going to bring him on now. You guys have probably seen him. He's been featured on The Drive with Darren Smith. He's been featured on KC Radio all over the place. And I got to say, probably the one of, you could say, the most provocative Twitter account in the Chiefs world, the most controversial Twitter account in the Chiefs world, a guy who's ahead of the curve in the Chiefs world. Sometimes he posts stuff, and then a day later, the Hot Take Radio Kings in Kansas City take his stuff and poach it. Don't give him any credit for it. So don't think I don't notice this stuff. I know we all notice these things for all these guys on 810 and all these different radio stations. We notice what you guys are doing. You guys are taking Lance's content and not giving him credit for his brilliant mind, and he's a brilliant mind. We're going to bring him on now, and he's going to be co-hosting tonight with myself. So without further ado, here's my guy, Lance the Spoken. Lance Twidwell. What's up, Lance?
I feel like I need to do like a WWE pay-per-view type of promo right now because I know that the audience is chomping at the bit. The first question that was asked is if I'm a Chiefs fan or not. So this is going to be a hot one, dude. I can't wait for this. And, Marcus, I have to add something here, man, because you started this thing by saying that, you agree or don't disagree, don't agree with everything I say. I was under the impression coming onto the show, the only reason I even agreed to come on the show is because you told me verbatim that you agree with everything I've ever said. So I don't know why you got to lie to the people like that, dude. That's ridiculous, dude. You assured me before I came onto the show tonight, Lance, everything you say is true. You're never wrong. I don't know, man. I'm just so confused right now. I feel like we should just move on now, dude, because I just feel so flustered from all this thing. All joking aside, dude, I'm stoked to be here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to get back on the show, man. It's been too long, man. I really, obviously enjoy your guys' content. You, JD, and Tage, you do incredible work. It goes without saying, man. The following you guys have alone is the results of that, of your guys' hard work and diligence. So to be on your guys' platform tonight, I'm just stoked you called me up, bro. I was really looking forward to doing this. So let's get this thing going, man.
Lance, people are saying to pump up your volume on your mic.
I can do that. That's not a problem at all.
I hear just fine.
Yeah. So make sure everybody can hear me good and loud. I had this issue last night. I do a show called 65 Toss Power Talk Show on Tuesdays, and that's how it started off as well. But that's the beautiful thing about not being an audio engineer is I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I can talk, but sometimes you can't hear me. That's the beautiful thing about learning as you go and live streaming.
Yeah, I'm hearing him just fine. Guys, can you hear you well now, brother? Okay, so they hear you. So yeah, Lance, before we get into the show, obviously we have a lot to talk about tonight. So you have your show on Saturdays, the Spoken Podcast with your brother Trevor, which is a great show. I've been on multiple times. You guys are awesome. You guys talk about obviously Chiefs is your main bread and butter that you guys talk about, but you guys talk about everything on your show. And if you guys aren't subscribed to Lance's channel, the Spoken Podcast, please do. Talk us about, and now you just mentioned your show last night. Talk to us about your new venture. So this year, you and Shaggy Shane started something new this year. Kind of talk to us about your Tuesday night show with Shaggy Shane.
Yeah, so Shaggy was one of the first people that really, I guess you would say, believed in me when I was a young guy back in 2012. I started making YouTube videos, just kind of put my feelers out there because I've always been an opinionated fan, but I just didn't really know where to direct it. And he was a guy that kind of put me under his wing because he's an OG Chiefs fan. He was a season ticket holder for 30 years, man. And we've always wanted to do work together. He's one of the community brothers. Obviously I look to you and JD, Tasia as that as well. And Shaggy's been a very tangible presence in my life. And he's, really had patience with me to, as I've learned and matured and developed into my, the kind of role that I have now in the Chiefs community. And we decided this year, man, it was time to just take a show and kind of do it the way we wanted to, because we've worked with other networks and programs before, but we never really got the freedom to do things we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it. So we decided to take matters in our own hand and start to do our own show. And it's been an absolute blast, man, because what I love about it is it's nothing close to what you and JD have, because you guys have the uniqueness of having the former player and a guy that comes from the reporting world like you do, journalistic world. Shaggy and I are just two fans, but he brings that old school experience, and I'm more of the younger guy on the show that has more of a fiery take, if you will. I'm sure that shocks all of you guys, but it's just a really good collection that we have because he brings a lot of guests on that are former Chiefs players from yesteryear, guys in the 80s and 90s. Like last night, the second time that we've only had 6 episodes, and we've had Leonard Griffin on, who played in the late 80s, early 90s with the Chiefs. We've had several other players as well. We're hoping to get JD on one day on the show as well, man. But yeah, we like to get the experience from the previous generation, but also hear their insight of what they're seeing today. And that's what we focus on. But we're also a very community-driven show as well, like you guys are, where you're very interactive with your guys' crowd, with your guys' audience. We just like the Spoken podcast, we don't want people to feel like we talk at them. We want them to feel like we're talking together. We're having a conversation. We're a bunch of fans here, passionate about things. We may agree or disagree on things, but the beautiful thing about it is we have a platform and an opportunity to discuss those things out loud. And you're not just the audience; you're a part of the show, and that's something we very much take a lot of pride in, man. So it's very much like, you're the same approach you guys have. It's just in our own little twist, man. So I'm really loving it. I'm really excited that it's gone the way it's gone so far.
Yeah, man. Shaggy Shane's great. I'm glad you guys are doing your own thing now. I mean, you guys are at a different network, and you guys, it was pretty solid. You guys were kind of the, how do I word this nicely? You guys were kind of the main dudes I listened to when you guys did that show on the other network. So I'm glad you guys did your own thing, and just having you two out there and doing your thing together. So I'm happy about that. Seeing a lot of comments in the chats about trades and guys who Brett V shouldn't have signed. We're going to get into all that tonight. I see Pono Kawhi. Pono, you mean Elijah Mitchell, not Elijah Moore. We did not sign Elijah Moore. But we're going to talk about that as well, Pono, so definitely. But again, guys, if you guys aren't subscribed to Lance's channel, please do. Lance is, like I said, friend of the show. He used to be a contributor to the show, I would say, post-game contributor with us. Guys, definitely subscribe to his channels. You guys are gonna really enjoy his takes, and tonight we are going to get into a lot of these things.
Looking forward to it.
So, all right. So we're gonna start with your first one, Lance. This is something I saw yesterday. You're the first one to bring this up, and then since you brought this up, it's become a big thing. I've seen a lot of people in Kansas City radio has been talking about this. Is Rashee Rice extension time? So I'm gonna post that tweet that you posted a couple days ago, right after the game. So this is from you. This is Lance's Twitter account, guys. It's a great Twitter account. It'll make you mad sometimes, but you'll also agree with it too. But hopefully the Chiefs have extension in place for Rashee Rice. If you think he looked great yesterday, it will continue to looking great this season. Wait until you see him in a contract year in 2026. Get him signed as soon as humanly possible. So, Lance, just naturally, ever since you posted this, I've seen a lot of people also take this and also talk about this as well. You guys remember the whole Tyreek Hill thing? We waited a long time to get the extension done, and it happened. We wait till the last hour, and Tyreek Hill waited to see what Devontae Adams got, and what Devontae Adams got, what he got, he was like, "No, I want a little bit more than that." So you are kind of right on this. But what is this? When you say this, right? Is this more because you feel snake bitten about how the whole Tyreek Hill thing went? Or it's just more like, hey, be proactive, just get on top of it now. And also, too, I know where you stand on this, but I want our viewers to see this. Where is Rashee Rice in your priority of guys who are either coming up on a contract year or going to be in a contract year in 2 years from now? Where is he priority wise for you?
Well, I'm going to answer the third question first and work my way back, kind of like a Tarantino movie, if you will. And I think the reason why is because I think the third question is the most important part. When the signings started to come about, or when the rumors were starting to speculate, because obviously we knew the biggest storyline this offseason is, are the Chiefs going to sign Trey Smith? We see them move off Joe Thuney, the legendary left guard that Brett Veach brought in several years ago and has been nothing but nails, but he was a little bit older, and the Chiefs just were not going to give him the money that the Bears gave him. So, the big story was Trey Smith, and I made a list, and I said the three guys over the next calendar year that I want to see the Chiefs re-sign is Trey Smith, George Karlaftis, and then Rashee Rice. Now, those first two guys got signed in succession this offseason. I wasn't expecting Rashee Rice to get an extension this year, not only just because of the off-field stuff, but because also the Chiefs have another year of control in 2026 for him, so they have more time to negotiate with him. But he is somebody that I see as the absolute importance. And if anybody wants to disagree with me, just look at the Chiefs' social media any platform that's talked Chiefs over the last couple of weeks, talking about the return of Rashee Rice and how excited everybody's been, and not just excited, but the result that came about in that Raiders game. You could talk about, it was the Raiders, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think it mattered who the Chiefs played that day. Rashee Rice was going to go off. The Chiefs were going to make sure they got him going, because it's very evident that he is by far the most important weapon, the most important skill position player on this Chiefs roster. And it showed early and often the entire time he played in that game that the entire Raiders defense was gawking at him. And that's only going to pay dividends for everybody else. And that's the point and why the emphasis I put on it. I understand the off-field stuff is a concern. You have to pay attention to those things. If you're a responsible owner, GM, head coach, you have to be paying attention to those things. But I'm somebody, and ironically, Andy Reid's also somebody that believes in second chances. And I think Rashee Rice is a damn good person. I think he made a really stupid, reckless, careless decision, a series of decisions, in fact, and it cost him a lot. And it might even cost him a little money in his future contract. But am I going to question whether this guy, for the foreseeable future, is not the single most important asset to the success of this offense with Patrick Mahomes and that offensive line in tow? I'm not going to make that mistake. And when we talk about the Tyreek Hill stuff and whether I'm snake bitten by it, I think there is a little bit of that. But see, there's a context to the Tyreek Hill situation, because the Chiefs were adamant on getting Tyreek Hill signed. They gave him a fair market valued contract extension, despite the crap they put up with him through his time, even before his first extension with the team. They were trying to get Tyreek Hill signed because they knew how important he was. Yep. But Tyreek Hill was also 20. I think he was going to be 28 years old that year. So he wasn't old by any means, but he was a little bit older than Rashee is now. Rashee's only 25 years old. And even though Tyreek Hill's the better player, there was a lot more baggage even to Tyreek Hill than there is Rashee Rice to this point. And I think
that was his second contract, correct? That was the second one.
Yep, that would have been a second extension. The Chiefs got a little bit of a discount because of Tyreek Hill's first situation that he was overall ultimately exonerated from. But the point remains, the Chiefs tried to do everything they could to sign Tyreek Hill because they knew how important he was. But they said, well, if we can't get him to sign, we're going to get a haul in return. And that's what the Chiefs got in that one. So I'm not as snake bitten by it, because ultimately the results that came afterwards, the Chiefs absolutely cooked in that 2022 draft, in large part because of what they got back in the Tyreek Hill trade. I don't think that's the same type of reality we have here in Kansas City when it comes to Rashee Rice. I don't think you're going to get that type of haul in return, because he's not a unique talent like Tyreek Hill is or was. Hopefully still is, because I would love to see him return from his injury. But yeah, man, I think this is mostly because of the fact that I see as the transition of the Kelce era is starting to go away, and now you're looking for that next era of receiver or tight end, whoever it is that Patrick Mahomes is going to look to as that volume guy. I think it's Rashee Rice. I think Xavier Worthy's got plenty of promise. He's obviously a freak. He's he's fast as hell. He's the fastest 40 time I've ever. But I never really have envisioned Xavier Worthy as that volume guy. I don't see him as the guy that's going to get 10 to 15 targets a week, at least on a normal basis. I think Rashee Rice is 100% that guy. He's a bigger, stronger, more reliable asset, in my opinion, moving forward. So it goes without question that he needs to be a guy that gets signed. I think the question is, because I think the Chiefs definitely want to get him signed, is just where can they get that mark? What's going to be the years? What's going to be the totals? What's going to be the guarantees? Because right now, Rashee doesn't have a lot of, dare I say, grounds to stand on when it comes to the negotiation table. But if he balls out this year, and that's why I created that tweet like I did, if he balls out this year like we're expecting him to, the Chiefs better get that figure going and getting it fast and getting that going this offseason as soon as they possibly can, because he's only going to get better in my eyes if he stays healthy.
Yeah, you bring up great points, right? The Kelce factor, right? So I mean, whether it is his last year or if next year is his last, let's say he's got 2 years max, right? You have to have that guy who's going to replace the Kelce function of the offense, and that is being the guy who has the rapport with Mahomes. And from what we've seen, Rashee Rice and him are kind of locked in with each other, and it's nice to see that we have that, right? And you also have big play potential, but you also see the guy who Mahomes wants to go to. And you see this first game back, 10 targets. Since he's been there, he's been that guy for Pat. And even coming out of college, we all saw the as far as a reroute, he was one of the number one receivers as far as rerouting. And you could tell right away, like, oh, that guy's going to be a perfect fit with Pat because, extending plays and whatnot. He knows how to do that already. So he doesn't have to be taught that. It was kind of inherently in him already. So, and then, yeah, so Kelce's off the books, right? He goes off. So that money's going to be there as well. And I know McDuffie, and I know your stance is on McDuffie. I know you don't think we're going to pay him because Veach, just goes without paying his DBs. He doesn't pay DBs much. I mean, we've seen the Jerry Sneed stuff. I mean, he's kind of Charvarius Ward. All these guys go, and he doesn't pay them. And we've also seen his success in finding guys like Noah Williams in the 3rd round, guys like Jalen Watson in the 7th round. We've seen that success there. But where we haven't seen success is finding those gems with wide receivers, Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy being the only ones we've pretty much found success in, and those are early round picks. They weren't late round picks like we found with with the DBs. So I think that is where that's where my head takes me. I think McDuffie's great. I'm not dogging McDuffie, but I do see if we're going to take a more of a stance is getting the guys that Pat feels comfortable with and keeping him around. If it does mean you part ways with McDuffie, I think it makes sense in the world because you can't pay everybody at the end of the day. You have to pick and choose. You have to be choosy on this, especially we've already made it seem like we are going to be choosy with the offensive line, so we're paying all the offensive linemen good chunks of change. Luckily, Josh Simmons is on a rookie deal. Juwan Taylor's probably done after this year, I have to imagine, and then Jalen Moore goes and takes that right side. But I am with you, and I think that people are forgetting the point is Kelce's going to be gone. We're not going to find another tight end who's going to have that relationship with Mahomes. At least right now, we don't think we will. But we do have a receiver who has that relationship with Mahomes and that cohesion with Mahomes, and you got to keep him in-house. Do you think the same way we talked about Tyreek Hill's his first contract, where we were able to kind of get him on a not bargain because he was still a highly paid guy, but because we did kind of deal with all the stuff that was going around him, he gave us kind of a discount. Do you think similarly we'll get kind of a discount with Rashee Rice because of what he went through last year when we stuck by him through all this period of time?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be something similar, but it's gonna have to be more modernized, if you will, because when the Chiefs got Tyreek Hill extended, I believe that was 2019 originally, the first extension, and that was 6-7 years ago. I can't believe time's flown like that, but yeah, that's 6-7 years. So with the cap going up and with the market going up, I mean, you got Jamar Chase making $40 million a year. That's the top paid wide receiver in the league right now. So the figure is going to be higher naturally. For Rashee. And like I said, when he's eligible for his extension this time around, he'll be, 26 years old. So he's just going to be hitting around his peak time of his career, kind of like Tyreek did in his first extension. I will say this. The question is, I made a list. I don't know if you saw this tweet or not, but I made a list that I said the only wide receivers I'm taking over Rashee Rice without hesitation. Like, there's some guys you can like kind of sit and ponder and wonder and have a nuanced conversation about and say, I might, maybe him, but I don't know. These are guys I do not hesitate to take over Rashee Rice right now. It's Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, JSN is starting to kind of gain some ground in that area as well. I want to see him do it for a full season before I comfortably put him in there because I like Rashee Rice's size a little bit more. But, to JSN's credit, he's been durable and he's been hella productive, man. So I'm going to give him a lot of credit. But those are the 5 names just off the top. But if you look at those guys' contracts outside of Puka, who's still on his rookie deal, these guys are making, like I said, over $30 million a year. And I have a hard time believing. I mean, you look at guys like Terry McLaurin. I think right now Rashee Rice is a better receiver than Terry McLaurin. I'm a big Terry guy. I like Terry a lot, but he's 30 years old, and I think Rashee's got a longer trackway, and I think he's just the more talented overall receiver. Terry McLaurin's making $29 million a year. Brandon Ayuk hasn't played since I think Moses was alive. He's making $30 million. Tyreek Hill going to be 31 with his leg is a 7 right now. He's making over $30 million a year. So Garrett Wilson, 32.5, awesome player, but he's on a bad team and he's not producing. DK Metcalf, $32.9 million. I think Rashee Rice is just as good, if not better, than DK Metcalf. I really do. So you're going to have to get kind of close to this market. And I think even with a quote-unquote discount that I think the Chiefs could get with Rashee, he's going to still have a market out there. There are going to be teams that are going to be like, all right, man, if the Chiefs don't get that deal done, we will sign him. We could trade for Rashee Rice. Like I said, I don't think they would get a Tyreek Hill-esque type of trade. That was a very unique trade the Chiefs got for Tyreek Hill because of his unique talent. And the desperation of the Dolphins as well. I do think though it would have to be a 4-year deal, roughly $30 million a year at the starting grounds, man. So the Chiefs would have to pay him over $100 million, and I know that might make Chiefs fans cringe for a multitude of reasons, and I understand it. But like I said just a minute ago, and I hate to repeat myself here, Marcus, but think about the excitement these fans have been having for the last couple of weeks knowing this guy was returning. There's a reason for that, and you saw it on full display on Sunday, and you're going to continue to see it every week from here on out. This dude is just different from the rest of the pack on this team. You've seen Patrick Mahomes have good numbers with Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown and Travis Kelce, Juju, Tyquan Thornton, but when you see Rashee on the field, it just looks like everything's on easy mode for Patrick. Everything just flows at a different level. That's not going anywhere if the Chiefs don't want it to. And I have a hard time believing, because to your point, there's a point I've been trying to echo as well. As awesome as Brett Veach has been at drafting cornerbacks, which is the biggest reason why I've said I don't believe they're paying Trent McDuffie, as good as and great as he's been at finding those gems, to your point, the only two receivers he's found that have been anything close to a success in the draft have been two guys that he took in the late first and early second in Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice. So there's no coincidence there. So unless they're willing to risk letting, soon to be, in a couple of years, Patrick Mahomes will be 32 when Rashee would be off his initial contract. If they're willing to risk not paying him and trying to find another guy in the draft to replace Rashee Rice, then you know what? Have at it, Brett, and best of luck to you. I have a hard time believing they're just going to adequately be able to replace him like that in the draft, because you just don't have Rashee Rice just walking in and out that door through the draft every single year. There are special guys in this league, and I believe Rashee's one of them. I think the Chiefs believe that as well. And because of his age and because of the fact that he's such an impact in this offense, I have to believe the Chiefs have a long-term goal in mind of Rashee Rice in a red and gold jersey, man.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. And I think the fact that, and think about it, we're happy about the receiver room right now, but it's been it took 2 years to build what we have right here. It took 2 years. Hollywood Brown got hurt. We had to make him come back in the following year. Tyquan Thornton, we lucked out, and we picked up somebody else's trash and made a treasure for us. A second-round pick who finally clicked with us. We've had second-round picks who didn't click with us, right? Sky Moore being one of them. It's not really that easy. And right now we're happy that we have a 7 deeper receiver, but that last 2 years, that hasn't been a thing for us. But I will say, with the DBs and Brett Veach's success, and I know McDuffie was a first-round pick. Yeah, McDuffie was a first-round pick, but look at the cornerbacks that we've had since, right? Or even before that, Charvarius Ward was a UDFA, or not a UDFA, but we picked him up from the Cowboys after they cut him. He was just like a training camp cut. We picked him up, and he was awesome with us, and he gets paid, and he's one of the best cornerbacks in the league right now for the Colts. L'Jarius Sneed, mid-round pick from La Tech. Veach has found a way to find those mid-round guys in late or UDFAs for cornerbacks. It's not the case with the receivers, and that's why
I want to add to that point real quick, Marcus, because you're making a lot of sense here, man. It's not just the proven track record that Veach has, but you also alluded to it earlier about not everybody can get paid. And I know that us Chiefs fans are so accustomed, because the previous eras before the Mahomes era was, let's just keep all the guys we like, the guys that are team guys, and the fans love them and things like that. It's a feel-good thing. But that's not the reality when you're trying to keep and maintain a dynasty. You have to make tough decisions. We saw Stephon Gilmore in New England win Defensive Player of the Year, and the Patriots moved off of him. This is a business at the end of the day. And like we just talked about L'Jarius Sneed, I think he was the best corner on this team in 2023. That man was locking down wide receiver ones on a weekly basis. Regular season, postseason didn't matter. I think he was the best cornerback on the Chiefs that season. McDuffie was awesome, but McDuffie, you didn't see him locking down the wide receiver ones every week. It was L'Jarius Sneed, and the Chiefs said, thank you, we're trading you. And that's how I think this is going to go. I think McDuffie will ultimately get traded because, to your point, you have to be cheap somewhere. The Chiefs' offensive line is already decently expensive. It's only going to continue to get expensive. You have all the skill position players that we're talking about. Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are ultimately going to get their deals. Patrick Mahomes is making tons of money. You're already paying Chris Jones for the next couple of years. You're already paying George Karlaftis now. You're paying Nick Bolton. You're going to have to debate whether you keep Brian Cook or Leo Chanel, Jalen Watson, guys like that. You're going to have to look at this offseason and ask that question. So the money adds up real quick, and I understand the cap is going to continue to go up, but that doesn't mean that because the cap's going up that you just spend that money just because the money's going up. You have to spend it responsibly, and my viewpoint on McDuffie, just to make it official here for your viewing audience, and I know my viewing audience is probably rolling their eyes because they've heard it a million times, is for me the dream scenario, because of the whole, Trent McDuffie's a first-round pick, you got to sign him. I see it differently, because when you have that first-round pick, you have more control of that guy, and especially at a cornerback position, because as we know, the cornerback position doesn't age gracefully. It's a lot like the running back position. It's based a lot on skill, being able to move those hips and those feet and those hands real quick. Well, guys don't age well in this league. Even the best of the best have to move to safety once they turn 29, 30 years old. Trent McDuffie is great now. He is elite now. and he's an undersized slot corner primarily. That's where his bread and butter is. I know they move him out on the outside a lot because he is versatile. But
He can do it. He can do it all. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. And I'm not taking away from his skill set. I'm saying that if you, in an ideal scenario, I think you would agree with me that Trent McDuffie being the slot is where he's the most effective, where he's at his absolute best. Not a knock. It's just the truth. That's just where he is at his absolute best because he's a little bit of a smaller corner. My point I'm trying to make is where he's at now and where he'll be in 4 years are going to be completely different places. If the Chiefs are getting the best version of Trent McDuffie right this second. So in my viewpoint, you can capitalize on getting the best years of a corner, never have to pay him premier money and letting somebody else do that and get the second tier version of him. I'm not saying he'll be bad at 27, 20 years old, but I don't believe you're going to see Trent McDuffie be this player 3-4 years from now. So just based on the trajectory of cornerbacks, even at their best, Darrelle Revis and guys like that, they all aged out pretty damn quick. I think that's how it's going to go with McDuffie, so the Chiefs can get the best 4 or 5 years out of a player, move off of him, and then keep the cycle moving. If the Chiefs take a corner this year in the first round, I mean, is that not an awesome move? Because they must have found somebody they believed in, like they saw in Trent McDuffie, who they didn't think was going to fall that far. And then they saw him, they had 12 picks, like, screw it, let's trade up and get this dude so the Bills don't get him. And that's how it worked out. Those types of scenarios can happen quite often for the Chiefs because, again, the best position Brett Veach has ever drafted in his time with the Chiefs has been cornerback, has been defensive back. I think that you keep that wheel rolling, man. You got to stay cheap somewhere. You might as well stay cheap at the position he drafts the best at.
I agree. And one thing we'll get into in the next topic, if we are going to do this right with this is all about keeping the offensive weapons we have. A guy who has a rapport with Mahomes, like Rashee Rice. If we are going to take a hit in the secondary, well, then you better hit on some edge rushers and defensive linemen because that's something that needs to be. If you're going to do one or the other, at least make sure you get some guys who can get to the quarterback. And we're going to get to that right now. Steve Cashman, I meant Ward, not West. We traded some low-level linemen to the Cowboys. Yes, Parker Anger is who we traded. I think that's how you said his last name.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's who we traded for Charvarius Ward, who's, I think right now PFF has him as one of the best cornerbacks in the league right now for the Colts. So, yeah, and that's a guy that Veach traded a guy who's no longer in the league for, so that's – he knows what he's doing when it comes to the DBs, for sure. All right, so now we're going to get to the trade deadline storylines right now, and there's a pretty good some good stuff out there right now. And again, I feel like every year we get to the trade deadline, and everyone's talking about, oh, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Then what happens on trade deadline? Nothing happens. Nothing ever happens. If there is anything that happens, it's a low-level guy that may never even get to see the light of day, like a Josh Uche kind of trade. Although, Josh Uche's playing pretty well this year. But I think it's more of a Spags thing, the system fit. But so today, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, he kind of had an article where he talked about different guys who could fit with different teams. And he released two names here, Breece Hall and Jalen Phillips. Now, Jalen Phillips is the edge rusher from Miami. He's had the injury problems in his career. But he also said the name of Breece Hall. And we'll talk about both. But right off the bat, Lance, Jalen Phillips, this is the one I saw, and this naturally makes the most sense of the two guys he named. In our next segment, we'll talk about some of the other guys who are names who are out there. But Jalen Phillips, I know a lot of our Chief Concerns family, everyone is a big fan of bringing an edge rusher. I've heard his name be commented on a few of our videos before. My big thing with Jalen Phillips, and I believe in another comment, Jeremy Fowler also talked about us going after Melvin Ingram in the past and just going for edge rush guys. You can never have enough dudes in the trenches. What is your stance on trading for Jalen Phillips? I don't know what it's going to take to get him. I have to imagine with a guy like him, with the team that he's on right now, I think he's in his last year of his deal. They're just going to take anything they can get for him at this point because Miami's just in a full-on reboot, I think, when the season's over for them, maybe starting in a week or so. What do you make of this, of the Jalen Phillips kind of speculation of sorts from Jeremy Fowler?
I think it's very likely. I think this is the type of move that if the Chiefs ultimately trade for somebody, this is something that I think can very well happen. It makes a lot of sense. He is 26 years old. He is on his 5th-year deal or 5th-year option of his rookie deal. I think the fully guaranteed money on his contract is 13.2 this year. So if the Chiefs were to trade for him in say a week, I think that'd be a little over half or right around half of that the Chiefs would probably have to fork out money on. The interesting part of it is, of course, what the Chiefs would have to give up. Because we've seen over the last couple of years that if the Chiefs make a trade, they're usually bargain spending. And, with the limited cap structure the Chiefs have right now, and I say that loosely because the Chiefs could move things around if they ultimately needed to, and I think they probably will. If it's a day 3 pick, I think you almost have to make this move because just based on the fact that Omar Norman Lott's not coming back this season, that's a guy the Chiefs had a lot of expectation on. I still don't really understand why they decided to make him put on 30 pounds. He was more of a speed rusher. He was more of a guy that played that style. I didn't really understand why they were doing that, but
They should have just drafted a plugger if that's what they wanted to do with him. It made no sense.
For real though, that's a great point. Exactly. So I didn't really understand how they were using Omar Norman Lott, but regardless of how they're using him, he's not coming back this season. Wish the best for the kid, but yeah, they have to manufacture edge rush pressure, and that is a concern I have. If you were to ask me what exactly does Jalen Phillips bring to the team, that's a great question because, to be honest with you, the highlights of Jalen Phillips' career have been him just simply overcoming massive injuries. I mean, we've seen over the last 2 years, he's missed 22 games due to an ACL tear and Achilles tear. So for him to overcome both of those things, every once in a while, a guy out there will have one of those two. To have both of those in back-to-back years and still come back and do what he's doing, that's high praise to the kid. But for me, he's just a guy that would just fill depth. I don't know if he'd be an actual difference maker, which is why I said if it's a day 3 pick they're asking for, they're willing to settle for, then you make this move. But if they're asking for something like a 3rd or 4th, I'd send them an LOL and just hang up my phone. But I think Jalen Phillips is a realistic option. I think that's a guy that Chiefs are probably looking at because I think, like I said, the best option they have right now is a depth piece. I don't think there's a guy out there that the Chiefs can realistically trade for that's going to be a true difference maker that comes in and it's like, oh damn, now he's here, it's just a world of difference. I just don't think that guy's out there, man.
Yeah, because teams don't want to get rid of edge rushers, right? Edge rushers is one of those premium positions in the league that teams don't want to get rid of. So I don't see, I do see them trading Chubb or Jalen Phillips, but they're going to want primo assets for him. They're not going to give him away for a day 3 pick. I just don't think that's likely. We're going to talk about somebody in the next segment who I think is likely, who I would give up a day 2 pick for. But as far as these two guys, Jalen Phillips, yes, I think edge rusher are the top 2 things I want from defense. At first, I was going to say, JD and I have been wanting a number 2 defensive tackle next to Chris Jones for a long time. We were happy with the Omar Lott pick. We actually wanted us to draft another defensive tackle. This draft was amazing in running backs. It was deep in running backs, and it was also deep in big plugger type defensive tackles, nose tackle types, which we could have gotten in day 3 somehow. We traded back in and got one, but we didn't. We only went with Omar Norman Lott, who's a bit of an undersized defensive tackle, but then obviously we wanted him to add on weight this past year because he's more a pass rushing guy. I still think defensive tackle is a big deal for it would be more of a need than edge rush because I think we do have the guys on the edge. Karlaftis, Omenahu, Gelati. We have those, Mike Dana, we have those guys on the edge, but the thing is, you don't have, if you're being able to triple team Chris Jones all game long, if you have 2 guys in the middle who cannot be double teamed or triple teamed, then you're going to have an easier access for the guys on the side to go do their business. It's just, that's kind of, I'd be okay with Jalen Phillips, but also to the injury aspect too, because I would hate to get a guy and have him come here and 2 weeks later he's done, because he does have a very, 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 a big time injury history. And that's one thing that kind of stands out to me, especially if it's going to be a one half a season rental. I don't want a guy who's going to come in and be done in 2 weeks. That's right. That's what kind of takes me off of the whole Jalen Phillips thing.
Yep. Couldn't agree more, man. That's got to, and it's got to be a concern because if you're sacrificing draft capital and you're taking on whatever, remaining guaranteed money he has on that rookie deal, yeah, you have to be concerned about that. And plus, the language is going to have to be very, thought out, because I'd imagine that Jalen Phillips is probably personally, and not that it ultimately matters, but I'd imagine he's going to probably want to go somewhere where he can not only succeed, but maybe get a long-term deal, because he is still only 26 years old. Where the red flag is obviously is the Chiefs. Do they believe he can sustain health for a long period of time? I just don't think that, given the fact they're already paying two guys up front as it is and moving forward, I just don't know if they're going to invest real money after this season in Jalen Phillips. So that might be the one thing that might hang that up, because maybe the Dolphins do want to do him right as well. So there's just a lot that goes on in the background. I know you understand that well, man. But yeah, I think he is one of the candidates, though, that could realistically be here in Kansas City in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, 100%. And I would be mad about it, because it's a need for us. It's just the whole fact that, like, we're going to bring in a guy in a high pick, third or fourth round, because I don't think he's going for anything less than a third or fourth round pick. That's just me. And then only for a 6-game rental or a playoff stretch run, that would be kind of be tough. I did 2 years in a row trading for a guy who's a rental, and that's the thing. Who knows if he even fits Spags' system, right? Because we thought Uche was going to come in and be a guy, and he wasn't a difference maker at all. And so the other part of the article, which I mentioned, was Breece Hall. He mentions Breece Hall as far as it being a fit and predicts a chance of going to Kansas City, 35%. So where I stand on this, and I know you're big on trading for a running back, JD and I are both adamant to not do that, because we think we have other needs. It would be a D-tackle, defensive end, more so than running back, because with the way we are going about things, there's not a lot of balance in the offense, because we did trade for a running back. Let's say it's Kamara. Let's say it's Breece Hall. 12 carries, 10 carries. I mean, like, is that enough to warrant a guy to come in for 10 carries? Because the Chiefs are a passing team, and no matter who we have back there, could be Barry Sanders back there, Andy Reid's going to throw the ball 50, 40 times a game, right? And he's going to run the ball with 8 times Breece Hall, and then Kareem's going to get the short yardage stuff, and Brashard Smith's really carved out a role as being the pass-catching back, which has been phenomenal at it. And I mean, this week, Andy Reid said it. I know coaches will say whatever, but like Andy Reid said, he likes the 3 running backs. They all have carved out a specific role on the team. And none of these guys are bell cows. And maybe it's the way they like it. They like the fact that they have a plethora of wide receivers who can act as the quick game, can act as your run game. And then you have a 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. You have number 29 for that. You have Kareem up for that. You have early down runs. You can get to number 10, Pacheco. And I'll say this, Pacheco's starting to look more like his old form again. And that's one thing that, first few games of the season, it kind of looked like rough out there. He's starting to look better. And then Brashard Smith's really filling in this receiver role, one of the most efficient receivers in the league right now, based on a bunch of metrics that I've seen. So, like, for me, I think trading for running back's a waste. It'd be a waste of assets, and it would just be a waste to bring in a guy. And then, I mean, who knows how he even – I mean, because Breece Hall comes here, I can't see him, like, playing well enough that he's going to want to get a contract in the offseason. I just don't see it. I don't see it. So what do you make on your running back take as of right now?
I have a very loaded opinion on this one. I'm sure that shocks you, but I totally get where you and JD are coming from, because ideally you look at this scenario and you say to yourself, yeah, this is just how it's got to be, because no matter who you're bringing in here, like you said, you can bring Walter Payton, you can bring Jim Brown, you can bring Barry Sanders. And those guys are not getting the touches that they would get anywhere else in the NFL. I mean, I hear people constantly bitching and complaining about, man, the Chiefs should have went and got Scadaboo. Guys, Scadaboo would not get half the touches he's getting in New York if he was in Kansas City. He wouldn't be the player he wouldn't get that opportunity. And that part I do accept. That's the part that I just won't fight people on, or fight anybody that says that on, when it comes to the value of the running back position here in Kansas City. But I look at it differently, and why I still stand on the side that they need to make a move at running back, because of the fact that, yeah, right now seems like things are going pretty good. Pacheco looks like his old self right now, and Kareem Hunt obviously is my dude. I've never given up on him. He should have been in Kansas City the whole time. I think that Kareem Hunt's done his job every single opportunity he's getting. He's just that Mr. Automatic net positive guy, but he's got his limitations now. He's a lot slower. He's a little bit older, and he just is what he is now. And Brashard Smith may never be that bell cow. And Brett Veach somehow, someway always seems to stick the landing with 7th round running backs. And he's, like you said, he carved out his role. He's more of a pass-catching Jerick McKinnon type of running back, and that is also always welcomed in here in Kansas City, because of all the types of running backs out there, those are the ones that make the most impact in Kansas City and Andy Reid's system.
But the reason why I say that the Chiefs need to make a move still is because of the fact that I don't believe this is going to last. Because we all have seen every single year, damn near, Isaiah Pacheco goes down with an injury or gets hobbled by something. And now he's older and he has a series of injuries. I have a hard time believing that Isaiah Pacheco is going to play all 17 games. Now you can say, well, Lance, he can play 16, maybe 15 games. Yeah, but what if it's only 10? You know, like there's no, like, I know that anybody can get hurt, but this is a guy that's got real legitimate injury concerns. And he plays a position that's very violent and he runs very violent. So for me, if he's going to continue to be the starting running back, they're going to have a guy that if and when that happens, if he was to get hurt, you got to have somebody there, which is why I say you lean into the depth of a certain skill of a running back, and that is Alvin Kamara. I understand people are telling me, Lance, he's saying he's going to retire. Maybe that's true if he says he'll retire if he gets traded, but I have a hard time believing that Alvin Kamara would turn down the opportunity to play with a dynasty. If he knows that he can play with Patrick Mahomes and under Andy Reid's tutelage and be here with a chance to finally win a ring for the first time in his career, I have a hard time believing he'd pass that up. And second of all, I mean, the Chiefs only have to pay him $3 million this year. And if they were to cut him after the season, they only have to pay him, or they'd only pay $3 million in dead cap. And they'd only have to give up maybe a 4th, 5th round pick at best for a 30-year-old running back. You say, well, he's 30, Lance, he's older. I'm not expecting him to come in here and run the ball 15 to 20 times, and he probably wouldn't anyway, even if he was 25, like we just discussed. He would be a guy that would be that veteran that can mentor a guy like Brashard Smith and take some of that off of Brashard, because although Brashard's looking good, he still is a 7th round rookie. So to expect him to be like this every single week or to continue to play like this every single week, it's just kind of an unfair thing in my eyes. I mean, maybe he does. Maybe he just continues just to, to shake the mold and break the mold, rather. Maybe he does. But I would feel more comfortable if they had a veteran that can make those types of plays as well in the backfield, that is reliable, that can stay healthy, and wouldn't cost the Chiefs much in draft capital or money. So that's the guy I look at. When it comes to Breece Hall, to me, I've never even entertained the thought. I mean, yeah, if I'm playing Madden and I can add Breece Hall, I'm doing it, because that's fun as hell. He's an awesome running back. He's a top 10 running back. He's 24 years old. He fits the offense perfectly. He is that, like, he's an ultimate, like, when you think of, like, the running backs across the league right now, what guys fit the Andy Reid offense the best? He's one of the first names that come to mind every single time. The problem is the Jets are going to expect for a running back, a decent haul in return in draft capital. And you're also going to have to pay him about $15 million a year moving forward. The Chiefs are not going to rent Breece Hall for a year. That's a guy that you're going to have to pay a $3-4 million deal. And I already broke this down on Twitter. I gave out my figures. I think if the Chiefs were to find a way to make that trade happen, they'd have to pay him a 4-year, $56-57 million deal. Because if you look at the current structure right now of the market, Saquon Barkley's making over $20 million a year. Christian McCaffrey's making $19. Then Derrick Henry's third, making $15 a year. Breece Hall's not taking anything less than $15 million a year, because that's what the market indicates, and he's 6 years younger than Derrick Henry. He may not be better than Derrick Henry in the grand scheme of things for their careers, but if you were to take a poll right now and say, which running back are you taking moving forward? There's no question you're taking Breece Hall. And same goes with Devon Achane and other running backs that people have tried to theorize on and say the Chiefs should go and trade for. It's just not that simple, and quite frankly, it's so unrealistic. I'd love to have either one of those guys if it was a perfect world scenario. But a perfect world scenario doesn't work for the Chiefs, because nobody's trying to just hand skill position players like that to the Chiefs and help their dynasty continue, especially AFC teams who are trying to work their way back up. So there's no realism, in my opinion, of Breece Hall ever being a Chief, at least this year, or Devon Achane. But I still hold out hope for like an Alvin Kamara or a guy like that, just because that's so much more realistic in my eyes. But if they don't move on, or if they don't move on a guy, then I am hopeful that they're going to focus their full attention on the defensive side of things, because that is obviously the more important place to fill a need in the edge rush or the defensive tackle position, so Chris doesn't get hammered left and right every single snap at 31 years old, no less. So yeah, that's where I stand on it, man. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how Brett Veach handles this, man, because I think there's a lot of pressure on him to make a move. I just don't know where they're going to go, man. It's been very tight-lipped. The only thing I've heard is that Diana Rossini did say she hasn't heard the Chiefs are in on running backs, but they are looking for a defensive lineman. So I will take that and take that as that's probably the accurate report, because she's pretty plugged in. She knows, and we'll see what the Chiefs do in the next couple of weeks, man.
Yeah, and that report came out, the Diana Rossini report you're talking about, that came out right before Omar Norman-Lott's injury the day before. So it's like, if it was a priority before that, it's definitely a priority now with the defensive line. Nothing. But as far as the offense, I think you brought up Pacheco's injury, which I've said before. Pacheco's injuries is something that is a reason why he's not going to be the future running back here, because the injury risk with him. But that's also the reason why having 3 running backs, and that's why you have a Kareem Hunt for your short yard stuff. That's why you have Rashard Smith for the passing down stuff. With that, I think you can be able to save Pacheco. You can get 8 to 12 carries for Pacheco easy because you're not going to ride him to the ground. And then also, too, Pacheco does get hurt, and this is where last year comes into play here. Pacheco does get hurt, and we saw last year when we gave 20-plus carries to Kareem Hunt. The first time we did that in 3 or 4 straight games since Larry Johnson in Kansas City. So, they trust Kareem Hunt. They trust that he can be the guy in spot duty if need be. We can ride you to the ground. Kareem Hunt showed that. But right now, Kareem Hunt is the guy you need. He's our putter. We bring him in for the couple yards, and that's it. And he does that admirably. As far as Rashard Smith, every week he's getting more and more touches, be it more so. Last week was, fourth quarter was a demolition, so that doesn't really count. But more so, they're giving him more targets. Screen game came back. It was the first time we'd seen a screen in Kansas City in years since Jamal Charles was here, and we finally have that. And that's just something that, man, that's great. We have a guy we could do that with. Obviously, we did with Jet McKinnon. So, and I do see some Jet McKinnon kind of crossovers with Rashard Smith. Obviously, he needs to work on the pass pro, and then he'll really be Jet McKinnon. But and people mentioned Devon Achane. First off, they're going to want a lot for Achane. I think that's between him and Waddle. I think those might be the only 2 building blocks for Miami going forward offensively. I don't think they're going to get rid of him. And I do think Devon Achane, he's very Rashard Smith. If we're going to trade for Devon Achane, okay, then why not just give freaking 30 touches a game to Rashard Smith then? No need for that. And I do think with the offense that we have, the 7 wides that we have, we can go the short, quick game, and that does act as a somewhat of a running game. That's why we're not going to be a team that hands the ball 25, 30 times a game. We just don't do that. But through the 3 guys we have and also run the ball, we are getting that 25, 30 between 5 guys. And then also you have the jet sweeps with Xavier and whoever gets the ball. I mean, and I saw another comment here, Elijah Mitchell, which someone compared him to. I see 2 comments here. Yeah, so Cordell Robinson. We also have Elijah Mitchell, who hasn't seen the field. And that's another thing, too. Elijah Mitchell went in spot duty when CMC went down a couple years ago. He was the guy. He looked pretty dang good, too. And then he got hurt. And I think he had a few hamstring injuries. But he looked good at some point. We haven't even seen him yet. And we signed this guy right before agency opened. Meanwhile, J.K. Dobbins lasted till August. And look at him. I mean, we brought him in last offseason to see if he had anything in him left. And then he ends up going to the Chargers, and he looks good. And then this year, he waits till August. And he's still a young guy relatively for J.K. Dobbins. Without his injury history that he had, he's probably still be in Baltimore right now. But that's a guy we could have gotten. But no, we went with Eli Mitchell for some reason. And I'll say this, preseason, Eli Mitchell actually looked pretty solid. And I do think if Pacheco does go down, you do have Eli Mitchell to kind of lean on in that same kind of 3-headed monster attack, 3 guys doing different things. And quite frankly, I think Eli Mitchell maybe be as good, if not better than Pacheco in that position, and getting the same kind of the looks that Pacheco's getting right now. But yeah, I think I'm so off running back. I don't think we need it with the way the offense looks right now and with the way we are utilizing 3 guys. We're just never going to be a bell cow kind of offense. I just don't think that's ever going to be a thing for us, especially as long as we have Pat, and as long as we have the weapons that we have we talked about paying. I just don't think we are going to have a offense where we're going to give a ball to a running back 15 to 25 times a game. I just think that if it does happen, that means we are in trouble with our skill players like we were last year when Kareem Hunt was getting 25 plus carries for 4 straight games.
Yeah, and I'll add one more thing, and I know you want to get to some other stuff, Marcus, but when it comes to the Elijah Mitchell thing, when I saw the Chiefs sign him, I looked at him as a guy that, because I'm with you. I don't see a long-term life with Pacheco here in Kansas City. I think this is his final season in Kansas City. I think that the Chiefs got, anything you get out of a 7th-round rookie, a running back, is a bonus. And for this guy to be a starting running back for a back-to-back championship team is something that is about as unprecedented as it gets. So what Pacheco has given this team, you can never repay, because you never expected that to happen. But this guy came in here and said, I'm here to take a grown man's job, and he did just that. And I appreciate everything Pacheco's done, but it's a short fuse, especially the way he plays and just with the injuries he's tallied up. But when it comes to Elijah Mitchell, I mean, the man's missed 41 games in his career as well. So I don't want to be the negative guy here, but yeah, let's say that, Elijah Mitchell, they had to turn the keys to him. The skill's there. He's always been skilled. Like you said, he showed what he could do when CMC went down, and, he's been a successful running back in this league. But the man misses a lot of time, and there's a reason why, he was so available for the Chiefs to go and get. And yeah, man, I look at this position and I worry. Like I said, I don't want to sit here and say that it's going to be just bad all the time. But I mean, 7 games, the Chiefs are averaging 3.8 yards per carry, and Patrick Mahomes is running unlike he's ever ran before. Now he's in his 30s. I'm not saying he's old, but he's not 2018, 2019 Patrick Mahomes, where he's 23, 24 years old. This is a different Patrick, and I don't like the fact that he's already running like it's January. And so I have to ask the question, how do the Chiefs avoid him doing that instinctually? Because right now he feels like he almost has to, because the running back position isn't giving them enough. Sure, they can run through the air technically, and especially with Rashee Rice being back, but we know that it gets only colder as the NFL season progresses, and you're going to have an established run game to a certain extent. I'm not saying you have to have Derrick Henry in his prime, but you need to have the guys that can get it done. I'm with you on Kareem Hunt. In a pinch, he can give you those 20-plus carries, and he will deliver. But we also know that's probably like the ultimate break glass in case of emergency. You don't want to have that happen in week 9 or week 10 and have to ride that out for the remainder of the season. So I hope that it all works out, but I'd be lying to you if I said that I'm not a little concerned about the long haul effects of this running back room as currently constructed. I hope I'm wrong, man. I really do, and I hope they don't have to make a move. They can save those picks, they can save their money, and they can focus elsewhere. But I am concerned about it, brother, and I'm glad I'm on this show because the word concern is literally in it. So I think this is about as valid as it gets when it comes to talking things about like this. So we're having the conversation for sure.
Hey, I mean, running backs, the number one of the few things that's been a kind of a constant storyline all throughout the offseason and now, right? And I do think Mahomes isn't running because he has to. I feel like teams aren't spying him, and he's just there, and he's taking what it gives him. I mean, look at the weapons he has out there. He's got guys all over the field, and no one's spying him. And like for whatever reason, teams are choosing not to spy him, and he's is able to eat these guys alive. I don't think it's for a lack of a run game. I do find it funny though, right? They won't do QB sneaks with him, but they'll let him run the ball 10 times a game. That doesn't make much sense, but. All right, so now we're going to get to more trade talks. I know you guys love the trade talk, right? This what gets everyone hot and bothered, right? The trade speculation. And then once trade deadline comes, everyone's pissed off because everything we talk about, nothing happens. So there's a few names I want to talk about. One, Tasia and I might have a bone to pick with our guy Lance here, is Calais Campbell. So this is a guy, we talk about realistic deals and things that could happen. I know people always want a prime guy to trade for. And that just isn't going to happen unless you want to trade, primo draft picks, draft value. And Calais Campbell's a guy we're talking about because the other day we were talking about Christian Wilkins, and obviously I think Christian Wilkins, it would be a great signing. I know there's the locker room stuff, which we really know, no confirmed reports about what happened in the locker room. Just, rumors of him, kissing guys on the head or whatever. Rumors, right? No one ever confirmed it. Schefter never wanted to put his name next to it. Neither did Rappaport. Nobody wanted to say anything. They wanted to give you a little bit, but not actually confirm anything, which is what I still think is odd. But we brought up Calais Campbell as a possible guy, right? He's an older dude, right? 39 years old. Probably one of his last years. He ended up signing with a team that ended up drafting him, and what a lot of people think is going to be his final year in the league. But if you look at his stats, he's playing pretty well. He's a guy who plays defensive tackle and defensive end. And it's also a guy, because of his age, because of his situation, I think Arizona wouldn't want a lot for him. It'd be more like, hey, this is your last year. We ain't going anywhere. But hey, we'll send you to AFC to Kansas City for a run, for a final tour to get a Super Bowl. And he hasn't played in the Super Bowl since his rookie season, that first year with the Arizona, which I think is crazy. That the Arizona Pittsburgh, that was his rookie season. That's nuts. So you tweeted this, and I'm gonna get it up here. So you said, no, the Chiefs should not trade for 39-year-old Calais Campbell. So Mike, and I've seen this when Tage and I talked about the other day, we had a lot of people saying, no, we don't want a 40-year-old guy on our team. It's like, okay, well, first off, he's playing well. He's not playing like a 40-year-old guy. But also, too, any trade we make at this point, this isn't for a long-term deal. It's for 8 games, and it's for a guy who's going to give us some rotational minutes and snaps during a season as we get to the Super Bowl. Because after this, it's like the Terrell Suggs. It's like a guy that we picked up at the end of the season. It's like a Carlos Dunlap kind of a deal here. It's one and done, right? If you want to get a Calais Campbell jersey, get it, because the only time you're going to have a chance to get it. So my question to you is, why does age get brought up when we're talking about Calais Campbell when it is a guy we're only trading a possible seventh round conditional pick for?
I mean, I don't want to dismiss the question, but I do think that the age is in a way kind of self-explanatory, just because of the fact that it's like when we take a step back and we ask ourselves, what are we trading? What do we want the Chiefs to trade for? Like, when we're looking at intents, like, what is the goal? You want to get a guy that can be a difference maker. I mean, I'd imagine that's at least. Yeah, obviously the depth is the realistic aspect of it all, but we want to get a guy that's going to be somebody who can make a real difference. Like we saw Melvin Ingram come into Kansas City and make a real difference. He became a good dude for this team. But Melvin Ingram was only about 32, 33 years old when he was in Kansas City, so he wasn't in his prime anymore, but he was still on the outskirts of it. Calais Campbell's in the other county from his prime, and I'm not dissing Calais. I love Calais Campbell. I've literally grown up watching Calais Campbell play football. This dude is an absolute freak. To do what he's doing at this age, it's nothing short of amazing to see. So I pay nothing but homage and respect to what he's been able to do for as long as he's been able to do it. But to the point I make about Melvin Ingram, unless I'm mistaken, didn't the Chiefs sign him? Didn't they just sign Melvin Ingram? He was a free agent. Terrell Suggs, unless I was mistaken, was a free agent. I think Arizona, whoever it was, released him or whatever it was. I'm pretty sure that those guys were just guys the Chiefs just picked up. So I say this.
Didn't we trade for? Didn't Pittsburgh trade him to us? Wasn't it Pittsburgh?
Was it Melvin Ingram?
Yeah, didn't Pittsburgh trade him to us?
That's a good question. Man, I'd have to look that up. I thought I could have swore he was a free agent, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, no, I think he was cut by Pittsburgh before we picked him up.
Yeah. Because I don't remember them actually giving up anything to get him. The ultimate point.
Ingram was traded to the Chiefs November 2nd, 2021, in exchange for a 6th-round pick.
6th-round pick, okay, and that makes a little bit more sense, like I said, because of the age situation. If Calais Campbell was a free agent, dude, I would be 100% on board with you. But maybe I'm wrong for saying this, and maybe you guys are just in the right on this, and I'm just not seeing it yet. But I value these late round picks in Kansas City. Is that weird to say? Because Brett Veach is so good at finding guys late in the draft. And I'm not saying that Calais Campbell wouldn't be a good guy here in Kansas City. I think he would be fine. But I don't know if he's enough of a difference maker at his age to sacrifice the potential of the Chiefs finding that next cornerback in the 5th or 6th round. Maybe it would probably be 6th or 7th round they'd have to give up for Calais. But they found Isaiah Pacheco and Brashard Smith in the 7th round. Like, I just have a different value on picks than I did before the Veach era, and maybe I'm holding on to it too tightly. Maybe I'm, having that trust issue of sacrificing those picks because I just covered them so much because how good Brett Veach is on day 3. I just don't know if Calais Campbell will be enough of a difference maker to justify that type of trade. Like I said, if he was a free agent, sign him yesterday. Go and get Calais Campbell because that's only a bonus. You don't have to pay him anything. You don't have to obviously don't have to give him any draft capital to get him. I just looking at and saying that out loud, trading for a 39-year-old, even though he's effective, to be fair, over the last 3 seasons, he's been playing in warmer climates, domes, things of that nature. I think that does kind of contribute to it because I don't think Tom Brady would have been 45 years old still playing in New England. I think he would have probably had to have retired a little bit earlier than he did, but he played in Tampa Bay in a really bad division, warm climate, domes. I think that kind of saved his career. Same with Drew Brees playing in New Orleans all those years. Peyton Manning played a lot of his career in the dome in Indianapolis. I just think those kind of things prolong guys, especially a dude that has to play such a physical position like Calais does. I don't know if he's going to have that to be able to withstand a season-long type of thing. They have a long run in the postseason that I think the Chiefs inevitably will have. I just fear that they sign it and people get excited because it's a guy, it's a name we know, and he was 39. Damn, that gets starting to show. It's 20 degrees outside. It's January and he's nowhere to be seen. It's kind of like one of those things I can just see happening because to your point about like Uche, we were excited about that pick. Oh, he wasn't a fit and he just kind of disappeared. Oh, now he's playing really good football and another team. It's like it just feels like there's always like this disappointment that surrounds acquisitions like this, and I just feel like that would be the disappointment I would be experiencing. Maybe I'm jaded by it. I don't know, but I don't like the idea of trading for somebody that old, if that makes sense. Like I think that there's just a certain age you just don't trade for guys. And we know one thing about Brett Veach. He doesn't take investments on guys that are old. We know they don't pay guys that are beyond 28 years old unless they're like unicorn players like Travis Kelce or Patrick Mahomes or Chris Jones. I have a hard time believing he's going to trade for a guy that old. That's just my opinion, man.
I mean, look, right now, the thing I love about him, right, we talk about Uche. I mean, Uche just schematically just wasn't a fit. Calais Campbell would schematically be a fit in the system. He could play DN, he could play D tackle, and having a 6'8" giant next to a Chris Jones would be unreal to have. And again, he's 39 years old. This is the end of the line for him, and he's still contributing at a high level. I don't have the PFF numbers and the metrics on here, but all I know is he has 3 sacks in the year, and that would be tied for our team lead right now. We're a half a sack behind Karl Loftus. So, like, he's still pretty dang good for what he is at 39 years old. I do see the weather aspect, but again, I don't think he'd be an every down guy. And also, too, I mean, I agree. If it was up to me, I would say screw all that. Don't trade for anything. Just go sign Christian Wilkins. He's a young buck right now. You can maybe have him for a year. Maybe you can sign up for 2 years, right? I mean, I don't know. I would love to have him because, I mean, just a year ago, he was a top 2 defensive prospect as a free agent. And Raiders paid him money because they lost out in the Chris Jones bidding war. We ended up winning that. But Calais Campbell would be probably my number 2 because I think it's the most realistic of the D linemen who would be traded right now because of his age, because of all those things. And again, I know you don't want to trade 6 or 7 round picks, but if I told you the same trade we made for Derek Nottie, a conditional 6th round pick, or a conditional 6th round pick for a 39-year-old in Calais Campbell, I mean, I'd hope you'd say take that 6th round conditional pick and send it over to Arizona for a Calais Campbell instead of Derek Nottie, because we did trade a back for a guy who we let go because he wasn't good, and I mean by a lot of metrics, by the PFF metrics, by all metrics, by the eye test. Derek Nottie isn't even worth a 6th round conditional pick that we traded for to bring him back.
Yeah,
I just think Calais Campbell's got a lot more in the tank as a 39-year-old. Because honestly, the way he's playing, I don't know if it is going to be his last year. He could play for 2 or 3 more years. I mean, you don't see that from defensive tackles, defensive linemen like him. But man, he's a guy that might go down in history. People won't like. I know he won't be up there as far as some of the best of all time, but longevity-wise, man, he's been a producer all throughout his career and almost 40 years old playing the position he's playing. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah, no, and you're right, man. In a hindsight aspect, yes, I would if I had to choose right now, if somebody presented to me and said, all right, man, you make this trade for Calais Campbell or Derek Nottie, yes, I would probably make the trade for Calais Campbell because Derek Nottie has not been good since he's been back to Kansas City. He wasn't good before he got back to Kansas City. So I'm with you on that. And just to make the record straight, because I know we've talked in our own group chats, you have convinced me on the Christian Wilkins acquisition. If the Chiefs can make that, I think they absolutely should. The only hesitation I have is the obvious. I think the Chiefs would have to have a detailed understanding of what's taken place. I mean, they would need like the actual, okay, what exactly happened? What was he doing? Because that is going to matter when you're coming into a championship locker room. When you're coming into a place that isn't just, hey, we're all professionals and this is our job. Welcome to the team. It's, hey, we're here to win Super Bowls. We need to make sure this guy isn't going to be doing essays around here. Like, I'm being serious. I'm just going to say it. Like, we don't need this guy harassing people in a very weird manner. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to have to be something that's going to have to be addressed if that is a scenario the Chiefs would entertain. And I'm going to be real with you. If they're okay with it, they better do it, because that's a move that makes total sense. Because like you just said, he's still young as hell. He won't cost them anything because the Raiders will be paying that. And that's always awesome because you're making the Raiders pay for a player that's playing for you, basically. And he would give them somebody that could be a legitimate difference maker. I know he had the foot or ankle injury, but according to reports, that's all healing up. And he's right around the time now where he'd be healed up and ready to play. If he's in football shape and he's still on go mode to play real football and be a difference maker, that needs to happen here in Kansas City. I was going to save this take for my show on Saturday, but I'm here with you, bro. Screw it. Let's talk about it. I'm all for it, dude. Like, that is the one that I actually am kind of excited about. I don't know, like I said, if the Chiefs are into him or not, but if they're kicking the tires or at least inquiring of him, get the story. Make sure it isn't horrible to where you're like, yeah, I don't want to touch that guy, literally. And if it's okay, if things are not too weird and you think you can work through it, sign that paper, because that needs to happen, dude. That's the one guy out there that would be a legitimate difference maker. And like we just said, we wouldn't have to trade. The Chiefs wouldn't have to trade for him. That's the most ideal scenario imaginable for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and again, you're not giving up any assets for him, right? He's a free agent right now, and he's a young guy who just the last year was getting paid top 2, top 3 defensive tackle money. He was dealing with a Jones fracture, which there was kind of a point of contention this summer. Obviously, the kind of insinuations that he did some weird stuff in the locker room. But on top of that, he didn't want to get a second surgery that the Raiders wanted him to. So he said, no, I'm doing rehab my own way. And so between that and then the reports of this whole sexual stuff that, it has not been verified or confirmed by anybody. It's just like stuff that like reporters have said subtly. But again, if the Kansas City Chiefs are interested in you, right? There's two things here. This guy's only 29, right? So he's got a lot. He got another contract in him if he wants it. And if and by all reports I've seen, it would be by mid-season he would have been ready to play. So we're coming up on mid-season right now. And if the Chiefs contact you and they say, "Hey, like we want you to come and play with us," this is your last chance. Because if you come to Kansas City, a team that we know the stories of Andy Reid. Andy Reid's given many guys second chances. Kareem Hunt being the latest of them. But look at his career; he's given plenty of guys second chances. If you come to Kansas City and you can't act right, and I've seen Cordell Robinson saying a disruption in the locker room, messing up the mojo is crazy. If he comes to this locker room, it's already established. We already know who the top dogs are. When you come in that locker room, you know who the dudes are. You act accordingly. If you can't act accordingly, then you're gone, and you're probably done, because teams will say, like the Jaguars, the Colts will say, well, if he couldn't hack it in Kansas City, then like maybe he isn't for us, because the Chiefs weren't going to utilize him. Then no way. So this is your last opportunity. So I do think there's at least for a 1-year deal, right? Play with us for the half season, look good next to Chris Jones, and then hey, maybe go get a contract elsewhere. Kind of like the Ogba situation, right? We brought him in, he looked great, he got paid right afterwards. So like Wilkins is my number one. Obviously, if all these stories are fine and everything checks out, you're not paying much for him, and you're not giving up any assets for him. And he gets to play for the Raiders, play against the Raiders. And that's also another thing, too. We're seeing all the dumpster fire with the Raiders right now. Maybe he saw the writing on the wall. It's like, you know what? I'm not doing anything you guys tell me. I want out of here. So, like, they cut him, and they get cut. Then you hear these reports being released after he says, no, I don't want to do your follow-up surgery. I want to do my own thing. And then you hear these reports. You didn't hear those reports before that. It also happens at around the same time they cut him. So I do think there's a lot of a miss there. No reporter's gone on record to say what it was. That also kind of makes it like, okay, are you just leaking like a subtle like report, or are you actually coming out and saying something? Because no one confirmed actually what happened in that locker room. And again, Brett Veach will do his due diligence on there. To quote John Dorsey, he's going to do his due diligence. And we'll see what happens with that. But I think Christian Wilkins is like he's my number one guy, because you're not trading any assets for him, and you could potentially get a guy next to Chris Jones for maybe 1 or 2 years on a solid deal, because he got paid good money with the Raiders. So.
Yeah, and even if there's a little bit of a weirdness to Christian Wilkins, which I think is just a standard, or that's in stock when it comes to him. That's just how he is. He's probably got a little oddity to him. I don't know if you guys remember, but in 2023, the Chiefs had a guy by the name of Kadropius Tony who had paper plates for hands and was one of the weirdest human beings on IG. Literally try to blame AI for speaking for him to fighting Giants fans through his DMs. The Chiefs still won a Super Bowl with that guy in their locker room. So that dude was a rather odd character. The Chiefs have had some odd characters throughout the years. I think they can handle it. Like I said, as long as it isn't something that you can't just overlook. And I think we're all adults here. I think we know what I'm talking about here. As long as it's something they can work through, I think the Chiefs would make that move, because I guarantee you they've heard about concerns of other guys before they still took a chance on. And I just named one. It didn't work out here, and it was actually really bad. He was a healthy scratch in the Super Bowl, and they still won the Super Bowl that year. So I don't think that anything that minor would be something that would mess things up in the locker room. This locker room has a lot of veterans in it that have won together. I think that those guys are strong enough of a nucleus to oversee some of the oddities of a certain individual to make it work. So as long as, like I said, as long as it ain't something that we can't discuss openly, then yeah, I think they can make that work with Christian Wilkins.
100%. I'm totally with you on that. But before we move on to the next guy, Calais Campbell, did I convince you that we could trade a 7th round or 6th round pick for a guy like that because his fit would work and he would be great for a stretch run for the Super Bowl? Or are you still awful?
Because Marcus, because I love you so much, and because you make valid points, and I love Tasia as well. You guys are my best friends I've never actually met in person. I'm gonna say F it. Let's do it, man. I'm open-minded to the idea of bringing a senior citizen here for a 7th round pick. And seeing if his back doesn't give out on him by just lining up. I'm good with it. Let's do it, man. Let's ride.
Let's do it. Todd Toll-Free, DT, Calais Campbell would be the fit and ball out. I mean, yeah, he's playing well right now. And yeah, I don't think it would take a lot to get him. But again, and that's also too, like, he has to want to come to Kansas City, right? I mean, he ended up signing with Arizona, the same team that drafted him. Maybe it was just he wanted to end it with the team that started it with. I don't know. But if you get a chance to play for the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't see him turning that down. And
and to add to that, his former teammate Terrell Suggs, I know he would talk to him. Yo, Sizzle, what's good, man? Tell me about Kansas City. You know what I mean? And I'm sure Calais has relationships throughout the league. He probably knows Andy Reid really well because he's been in the league as long as Andy Reid has. So I'm sure he'll talk with him. Yeah, I'm sure there's interest because no offense to Arizona, but they're not winning a Super Bowl this year. No. And I think Calais Campbell, like you said, this is more than likely his final season. We'll see. He'll probably be playing longer than Patrick does. Who's to say that, he looks at this as that one true opportunity, man, that, a team that's not only a Super Bowl worthy team, but a team that might be interested in him. I mean, how many times is that going to happen to him?
Yeah, I mean, he isn't slowing down right now. So, I mean, it could be his last year, could not be. And if it is his last year, like Terrell Suggs, right? Terrell, how great was it just go to a team for 6 games and win a Super Bowl? He's like, oh, yeah, it's great. You should do it. You should do it, and then you can go retire in Arizona afterwards if you want to. Del Monte, has Campbell won a Super Bowl? No, he lost in the Super Bowl. Cardinals, Steelers, his rookie season. That's the only time he's been to a Super Bowl, so no. Jeremy Gallagher, JD is off tonight. JD is with his nephew, Chad. Chad has got a procedure. So JD is off tonight. So send well wishes and love to JD and Chad. All right. So now we're going to go to the next guy, Quinnen Williams. So young guy, 27 years old, defensive tackle, would be awesome next to Chris Jones. Amazing. It would also be the guy to hopefully take over after Chris Jones does retire in a couple of, hopefully Chris Jones plays till as long as Calais Campbell does, but a guy who can actually, continue to graduate with Chris Jones, go to the next level, go to play in the third race together. I would love Quinnen Williams. So the Jets, another team like Jalen Phillips with the Dolphins. This is a team that's probably going to blow it up here soon. They're going to trade their pieces, get as many draft picks as possible, and kind of begin a new clean slate. So a beat reporter for the Jets released this yesterday. Connor Hughes said that according to sources, Quinnen Williams could be had for a 2nd-round pick. Also, other names here. Jermaine Johnson could be had for a 3rd-round pick. Will McDonald could be had for a 3rd-round pick. Could be a 2nd. And then Breece Hall, 5th-round pick. Well, not bad, actually. And then you have Quincy Williams, day 3 picks. But the Jets are indeed making outgoing calls regarding Jermaine Johnson. That could be another guy, too. But I want to stick to defensive tackle here. Quinnen Williams, 2nd-round pick. I know you're huge on draft picks and assets, as am I. But 2nd-round pick's pretty steep. But this is a lock of a guy who we know who he is. And his contract's actually not that bad. Quinnen Williams' contract. What do you make of this, bringing in Quinnen Williams for a 2nd-round pick, Lance?
I wouldn't give up a 2nd-round pick for Quinnen Williams. I would give up a 1st-round pick for Quinnen Williams.
Wow.
Quinnen Williams is one of the best interior linemen in this league, and it's not close. I mean, there's only maybe 2 or 3 guys that I could even say comfortably are even in his tier. The reason why Quinnen Williams doesn't get the respect that he deserves is because he plays for one of the worst, most embarrassing franchises in the NFL. But this guy, year in and year out, is a wrecker. And he is only 27 years old, just turned 27 years old. And in my opinion, a guy like that, especially for a team like Kansas City, you can't put a price tag on him. He is one of the more invaluable players in the league. Like, you can't put an adequate price tag on it. Like when Chris Jones's contract discussions were going on, you remember what I was saying. I'm like, I don't care what the Chiefs pay him. You pay him. Like, he is worth every penny you pay him. That's how I feel about Quinnen Williams. The only issue with that type of acquisition is not the draft capital, because like I told you, I would give up anything for Quinnen Williams. The issue is the money. I know you said his contract isn't terrible. You're right. It's not terrible, but it is still hefty. And it's going to be hefty for both sides no matter who the Jets were to trade him to. Because if you look at his dead cap over the next 2 years, it's over $50 million combined. So the Jets would have to really consider eating a lot of that. So are they that hell-bent on giving up an elite 27-year-old defensive tackle and eating that kind of money? I mean, yeah, they could probably get a good haul. Like I said, that first, second round pick easily. That's like a standing. That's like the floor here. And they probably get great offers, which probably takes the Chiefs realistically out of the running for a Quinnen Williams, because they're going to be a team out there that'd be willing to give up a haul for him. That would just outprice the Chiefs. But even if the Chiefs were to give them adequate, draft picks, knowing that the Chiefs have late picks in every round essentially, the Chiefs would have to finagle some serious money around, dude. And if you made this move, not to bring it back up because I know I piss Chiefs fans off all the time, but I have to anyway because it's a real conversation. You can kiss Trent McDuffie goodbye. Because if they make that move, there is 0% chance they're paying Trent McDuffie. Because Trent McDuffie's money starts over $100 million. So the Chiefs are not going to be able to pull that off while still paying Chris Jones, while paying George Karlaftis, while paying Nick Bolton, and probably extending either Brian Cook or Leo Chenal, because one of those two guys are a staple on this defense, and they don't have a veteran safety around. They've always had one of those two guys, either a Justin Reid or a Tyrann Mathieu, and I think they like what Brian Cook brings to the table. I think they love what Leo Chenal does. He's one of the biggest freaks in the league at linebacker, only 25 years old. So there's a lot of things you have to really consider here, man. So if you're asking me what I'd do, I'd tell the Chiefs, hey, Veach, go get him and figure out the money, because that's a dude that takes this defense from being really, really good to incredibly elite. So, yeah, I'm all for winning Super Bowls, and Quinnen Williams is a Super Bowl acquisition. So make it happen if you can. I don't think personally it's that realistic. I think it might be too rich for the Chiefs' blood. But if there's any chance or any scenario that the Chiefs can make that happen, this is the move you make.
I mean, look, this is a team that traded a first-round pick to get Orlando Brown Jr., right? So they have made splashes like that before, True. And Quinnen Williams, Orlando Brown Jr., two different things. It was a need for us at the time, and thankfully we did not re-sign him. But because we found our guy in the end. We found two guys in the end. But as far as Quinnen Williams, and I think this goes to our conversation earlier on in the show, we talked about Trent McDuffie and talking about the success in the cornerbacks. Because if you are going to, not sign Trent McDuffie and pay him, then that means you have to figure out the trenches and get some pass rush and get some, guys who can get to the quarterback. Because if you are going to have to take a step back in the DB room, and who's to say we don't take a step back in the DB room, right? Because Jalen Watson's been great. Noah Williams looks like a gem. That was one of Taja's guys who he loved the all pre-draft process. And those are guys we found late, not first round picks. And you could also, in this upcoming draft, you could draft in the first round at cornerback if need be. But by trading for Quinnen Williams, you figure out your defensive line issues for a long time. And then, next year you have Quinnen Williams, you have Chris Jones, and then you have Omar Norman-Lott. You actually have a rotation of solid defensive tackles for the first time in a long time. And also you have Gelati, who's all grit. George Karlaftis, all grit. Omen, who's probably gone after the season's over, but you can find edge rushers late in the draft. But you have guys who can get after the quarterback in the trenches. And finally, you can't double Chris Jones anymore because you have Quinnen Williams, the beast, next to him. So I would love it. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it'd be a big splash. And I saw that today, that second round pick he could be had for, because that team looks like it's about to implode. Well, it's imploding already, but they're about to blow it up.
Oh yeah. Chris Jones and Quinnen Williams together would be like the equivalent of the Brothers of Destruction, like Undertaker and Kane. Like that's not even fair. Could you imagine that type of talent and the interior presence of your defense? And what that would do is add the incentive for Chris Jones to want to play on the outside more, because he loves doing that. You got Quinnen in town, bro. I mean, you're talking about Chris Jones just picking and choosing where he gets to play on each down. So, yeah, dude, like I said, just to reemphasize, if there's a single percentage chance the Chiefs can make that move, that is the move, dude, because we both know when you're building a defense, it starts with the interior. It starts with your front four. It starts with your front seven. It starts by getting those guys that can get adequate pressure on the quarterback. That's where it all starts, man. If you can get two juggernauts like that, although very expensive, it would be worth every single penny to have those guys to build around for the next couple of years in your interior front.
100%. And we got a question here. Steve Cashin, what's the math on Williams? Let me pull it up here. I just pulled up from the website. All right. This is Quinn Williams' numbers right as we speak right now. Whoops. There you go. So this is Quinn Williams' contract as we speak.
Yep, it's a little over about $48 million in cap hits over the next 2 years, and then it looks like about roughly $50 million in dead cap. That's where the Jets kind of have to play a role in what they're willing to eat to move off of. And that's the question you have to ask. Does a team that is on the rebuild, are they wanting to move off an elite player still in his prime that's going to be that expensive for them? Are they willing to do that? If they are, then we're going to have a discussion. If not, then they're not making that move.
Yeah. I mean, again, it doesn't come around often where you can get a guy who is a dude for a second round pick, and you also have him under contract for a couple of years after this. But again, that's where you have to pick. You pick McDuffie or you pick in the trenches. It's got to be one or the other. You can't go. You can't lose in both areas. And I do think if they don't go with McDuffie, they are going to make sure to spend money in the trenches. I think it's going to be one or the other.
Yeah, to your point about the second round pick, I think if we know how negotiations go, that's what the Jets are saying right now. But I guarantee you, there's going to be about 15 teams that are saying, "Hey, we'll give you a second round pick," and they're like, "Okay, cool. So now we know there's these many teams that are willing to give this up." All right, well, now we're moving up. We need multiple. We need a second and a third. We need a second and a fourth. We need, they're going to want to see that deal get sweetened. And that's where I think the Chiefs might get maybe outplayed or outgassed, because there are going to be teams out there that have not only more picks to mess with, but probably earlier picks to mess with. And I think that's what the Jets are probably looking at if this is a trade they're actually looking to move forward with.
Yeah, and also, unless you never know. We've seen crazy things happen in sports, right? The Lakers didn't, or the Mavericks didn't ask around about Luka, and they just traded him.
That trade still doesn't make sense.
So we've seen crazy things happen in sports, right? DeMonte Green says opponents wouldn't want to come to Arrowhead for real. No, they wouldn't. Not with those two dudes in the middle. Woof.
Brothers of Destruction. I'm getting the nickname now, dude. I'm telling you.
I like that. You said Kane and Undertaker. I'll go a little more old school. Big John Studd and King Kong Bundy. Tag team duo. I mean, come on, there's big dudes there.
Well done.
So before we move on to the final guy, Christian Fulton, I just quickly want to ask you, since we're talking about guys in the trenches. A lot of people are saying everyone's talking about big names. A name that makes the most sense would be Colin Saunders. I mean, he's riding pine in Jacksonville right now. He's not doing anything over there. I think he's been a healthy scratch. I don't think he's even played. What do you make of a Colin Saunders? Do you think that's a realistic move? I think that of all the moves we're talking about tonight, I think that's probably the most realistic, is bringing back a guy who's already been here before, who has relationships with the team, knows the system. What do you make of Colin Saunders?
I'm so glad you brought him up, because I was hoping that this was going to happen, because I literally have in my notes right here, go get Colin Saunders from the Jaguars. He's only worth $1.7 million this year, which means that the Chiefs obviously wouldn't pay all of that. And he is riding pine. It's a very frustrating situation for him in Jacksonville. There's rumors speculating about it, about him not being a good teammate and things like that. But I've heard nothing but great things about that guy in his time in Kansas City. All the teammates still love the dude. When they were playing out there in Jacksonville, you saw several videos of him and old teammates hugging it up, having a good laugh. I mean, this dude seems like an awesome guy. I don't know him personally, obviously, but he seems like an awesome guy. And I think he's a pretty damn good football player. I mean, I don't know why he's riding pine in Jacksonville. Maybe that's a scheme fit issue. I don't know, but that is probably the most realistic option of all these that we're talking about, with the plus side added to it, because I think he's still got some football left in him. He's not old. I think he's only 28 years old. I could be wrong about that, but I do believe he's around 28, 29 years old. And he's inexpensive. I mean, it wouldn't cost anything. I mean, if the Jags are really hell-bent on trading him as opposed to cutting him, give up a day 3 pick, because like I said, you're not even using him. There's no incentive there's no leverage here for the Jags. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And let's be real. The Chiefs like their guys. Like you just saw, Derek Nottie came back. We all know he wasn't a great player. He was just a depth piece at best, and he hasn't even been that. They've gotten McCole Hardman like 14 times. They just go and get their guys they like. They're comfortable with guys. They got Juju twice. Like they like their guys. When they're comfortable with dude, when he fits the role, when he fits the mold, and he's one of the dudes, eventually they probably make a reappearance, kind of like an old serial, like a series, like you always have these reoccurring characters that show up like once every couple seasons. That's Colin
Yeah.
Saunders. Like, it makes a lot of sense. So I could definitely see it happening. It's very realistic. And he'd be a plus side player. I don't think he'd be some rim rocking difference maker, but he'd be a good guy, good morale dude, and just a nice little fresh face to see back in Kansas City.
Yeah, it's another guy who can come back and get another ring to be a part of it. I think he was at the right carpet of the premiere for the no, it was a red carpet. It was during Super Bowl weekend. We talked about the three-peat, and he was talking about how it'd be awesome for the Chiefs to get the three-peat because I can say I was a part of that. Like, so all these guys are still in the fabric of what we were doing in Arrowhead and in Kansas City. So like the team would love to have him back, and we obviously know Kelce and his connection with Taylor. So like they would all love to have him back. And again, that honestly, if you're looking at bets, right, like what's the most likely guy to trade for? He's probably like a minus 200, where everybody else like plus something. Like he's probably the biggest favorite to come there because it probably wouldn't cost us much of anything at all. And maybe the Chiefs are even hoping the Jags just cut him so they can just pick him up. So
yeah, that's ideal because, like I said, there's no leverage for the Jags. Like they can't demand anything other than like maybe a conditional 6th, conditional 7th for him.
Yeah, I would love that. I mean, honestly, it would be great to have depth. I don't think he's going to be a Quinn Williams type of guy, but like, hey, it'll be a good depth piece and a good locker room guy that they have in the. All right, so last guy we're going to talk about, and this is more of an outgoing trade here because this one doesn't make any sense. It's Christian Fulton, a guy that we spent pretty decent money on, probably one of the second highest paid guys we paid for in this offseason. 2-year deal. Worth about 20 million over 2 years. And he has been a healthy scratch the last few weeks. And again, does it come down to scheme fit? I don't know. But all I can say is I can go back to a tweet from Jason Anderson of 810, I believe. Because yesterday we made a move where we brought in Kevin Knowles, and Kevin Knowles is now on the 53-man roster. So yet again, it's another cornerback who's on, that's the move we make with ONL going to IR. Is this guy going to another cornerback going into the active roster? It's like, that's interesting because we have Christian Fulton, the guy who's not even playing. But this stood out to me a little bit here. It was Jason Anderson tweeted this. So this rep by Kevin Knowles, this is back in August. The key part is what Dave Merritt says. So back in August, Kevin Knowles is why I think he has a chance to make the team. Dave Merritt talked about knowing your job. He recognizes the adjustment, even alerts Christian Fulton. Fulton, a 5-year vet, and Knowles, an undrafted free agent, plus knowing what the route is from prep work. I take my chances with developing him over someone the Chiefs have been trying for the last 3 years to get to click. So the fact that Merritt right off the bat kind of says like the thing about, knowing your job and how, Christian Fulton, he's a 5-year vet, but like as far as, knowing your role and knowing how to play, I mean, again, he also was hurt a little bit. So it's interesting, this whole Christian Fulton thing. And now I'm seeing there's potentially he could be on the outgoing teams. There are a lot of DB needy teams out there who are looking for a guy who could come in. I mean, even the Chargers are one of those teams who could win. The guy came from the Chargers last year. He had a pretty decent year last year for them, at least the first half of the season. But they are a team that needs a cornerback help. A lot of teams need DB help. We're amongst the teams that does not. We're actually pretty deep in that department, and that's before Najee Johnson comes back. That's before Noel Williams starting to get more reps over the last 2 weeks. So, what do you make of this whole situation? And do you think there is a trade that can be had here that we could get him out of Kansas City for some draft capital that we can turn to some trade for somebody else, or just a player for player kind of thing? What do you think happens with this situation?
Yeah, when we came into the season, 8 of the 9 defensive backs on this Chiefs roster, were on rookie deals. And the one guy that wasn't was Christian Fulton. This is a guy that the Chiefs obviously were very high on, got him from a divisional foe in the Chargers. He was a free agent, and they went and got him. And Brett Veach has never spent money at the cornerback position, ever, until this offseason, and it was Christian Fulton. So I was of the assumption this dude was going to be a real piece to this defense. Now, obviously he gets hurt. That's something you have to just kind of deal with and just, let him work his way back. And that's what I was been of the belief this whole time, that, yeah, he's just getting healthy, and, we'll see him at some point because he's that veteran corner they spent real money on, and I just keep sitting here and waiting. And then, like you just said, we keep hearing that he's a healthy scratch. And that's when I started to have a real problem with this whole situation, because it now has to become a situation that we need some clarity on. We need to understand. And I know they don't see it that way, but as a fan, as a consumer of this team, I feel like we should have some clarity on this because it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, the dude has $23 million in dead cap money attached to this contract. So the Chiefs clearly have there's real financial investment in him. This is a guy that fits the Spags defense, so I don't think it's a scheme thing. I don't think it's a lack of being a fit. I think he actually is a fit. He fits the mold. He is that style of corner that Spags likes to have on his defenses. So it begs the question, what the hell is it? And the only thing I can really give it from a positive spin is, well, the Chiefs are really just loving what they're getting from Noel Williams. They're really liking what they're seeing from him. But my issue is, we're seeing Shamari Connor playing a lot of corner, and he's not their barbecue chicken half the time. I know he's been playing better of late, but he's gotten cooked a lot of times this season playing slot corner for whatever damn reason. He's more of a safety in my eyes. Noel Williams, up to last week, was only playing about 15, 20 snaps on average per game. Shit, against the Jags, if I'm not mistaken, I think he only played 4 snaps total. So, like, it can't be Noel Williams. It can't be these other guys. So what in the hell is it, Marcus? Like, I know I'm supposed to have an answer here, but I literally don't have one because there's nothing about this is making any damn sense. If he's hurt, then we could just have peace about that, add a little solace to the situation and say, well, you know what? He's just not healthy. We live. It's football. That's what happens sometimes. They're saying he's healthy. He's not on the IR. What the hell is going on, dude? And it's the weirdest thing because I'm out here in Kansas City, so I stay plugged into the local media. There's very few questions about it. Like, very few people ask anything about it. So it's almost like this, like, unspoken situation that's going on here in Kansas City that either no one knows about or no one cares about. And I'm on the second. I'm definitely on the first side. I just feel like no one knows about it. Like, because you definitely have to care about this. Because what are we talking about right now with these last couple of weeks? How awesome Jalen Moore has been stepping in. That was their big investment at left tackle. Well, this is a dude that's gotten heavily invested in a cornerback, so that has to be treated the same way, and it's not. There's not that same energy, both positively and negatively to this, and I'm glad you brought it up on the show because it needs to be addressed. It needs to be discussed. It needs to be understood because there is nothing that's happening right now in my eyes and to my own understanding, and I've been asking people that are in the know, and everybody's kind of throws their hands up like, dude, I don't know. I've talked to reporters. I'm talking to people that are in the know, and they're like, dude, it doesn't make sense. So it feels like just one of those classical situations where the Chiefs aren't playing a player and you don't really understand why. That's literally what it feels like. It's like Leo Chanel last year wasn't getting nearly the snaps that guy should have been getting. He was an awesome player every time he got an opportunity, and he just was not getting those opportunities. Uche, you can talk about being a scheme fit, maybe you're right, but they still traded for that dude. So they clearly had a talk with Spags and said, hey, does this guy fit your defense or your opinion? There had to be some agreement there before they made the Uche trade. So I'm not understanding it, Marcus, and I don't know if we ever are going to because right now it looks like he's not going to be a part of the plan moving forward.
It doesn't feel that way, and you're right because I mean I watch these press conferences every week, and easily like, hey, it's not a weird thing to ask. Like, hey, what's like the guy we spent the second most amount of money on this past offseason from Jalen Moore to him? What's the deal with Christian Fulton? Like, you can't. I mean, I'd love to hear that question at least once a week just to hear what's going on with that. And Spags will give you more of an answer than Reid won't really say much, but like Spags will give you some kind of an answer. Dave Mayer might give you some kind of an answer. Yeah, it's weird. It's one of those things that's gone unsaid. Delmonte B. Green's, am I the only one that noticed they hold players for different quarters of the season? Yeah, this wouldn't be that, man. This is a guy. This isn't a player they're load managing. This is a guy who's a young dude who they just paid money to. They're not holding him for anything. They're just holding him out off the field for some reason. I don't know. And that's the thing. It's like schematic. The Josh Uche thing that makes sense, right? Because at the end of the day, he really wasn't a fit. We've never really had guys who just speed rusher types. We don't really have those in the Spag era. And like that, that makes sense. You look back at it, but then this guy who does, who does fit the Spags mold as far as secondary wise, and he's not playing, and healthy scratches. It's weird. It's interesting. But yeah, I feel like that needs to be said because he might be a guy on the way out, and that'd be one of the craziest things ever. A guy that we signed who never actually got to play meaningful snaps gets traded before he ever actually got to play meaningful snaps in a season. Really odd.
Yeah, and it would make, like I said, it'd make even less financial sense too, because like I said, the Chiefs have given this man real money. It would not be cheap to get rid of him, and In my personal opinion, even though it doesn't feel good, like the vibes are off and it doesn't feel right, I still think the Chiefs need to make this work. I mean, at worst, it's something our guy Charles Goldman is saying. Maybe he's a guy they're just kind of just, hey, if someone gets hurt, then he'll play kind of situation. I don't like that. I personally don't, but there are worse scenarios. You could go and trade him and then someone gets hurt and then you don't have either. So I guess we'll just say, hey, you're the backup. You're Ryan Gosling and Remember the Titans. Congratulations. Like, you're just the dude that gets thrown in last second. Don't get cooked. You know what I mean? It's like one of those deals. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's really like one of those throw your hands in the air, ask what the hell's going on to the clouds kind of thing, man, because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, we see injuries happen in the secondary wide receiver room. We've seen that happen with us. But to have a guy that we can rely on, I mean, I know it's not why we signed him, but to have a guy that we can go to in case, God forbid, any of these guys get hurt, that's a good silver lining there too. And I believe actually, let me see if I can pull this up here. Fowler actually mentioned the cornerback situation a little bit in his article. Fowler says, the Chiefs cornerback room is one to watch entering the deadline. Free agent addition Christian Fulton is a healthy scratch. Could they find a way out of his 2-year, $20 million deal? Rookie Noah Williams is emerging, and fourth-year player Joshua Williams could have trade value. So, I mean, if Fowler's saying it, that means this could be something. Could be something potential there. I don't know, but very interesting. One of the weird mysteries of this year for the Chiefs was the Christian Fulton whole thing. So
and just to throw it in there, if they are going to trade a corner, it needs to be Joshua Williams first and foremost, because he doesn't have a real role on this defense right now. Like, he hasn't been playing nearly enough. Jalen Watson's clearly that guy that's taken that role. Jalen Watson's been awesome this season. If the Chiefs can if the Chiefs can extend Jalen Watson on a short-term deal that's not insane, like, they could get him on a 2-3 year deal that's worth like $6-7 million a year, I would welcome that gladly, because I think he's that good. You make that happen every time. I don't know if the market will be a little more rich for him out there, and if so, then hey man, best of luck to you and thank you for the 4 years. But yeah, Joshua Williams has to be at the top of that market. I don't even know. At this point, I wouldn't even care what you got in return. If you got a 6th or 7th round pick for him, to me, that's a win, because, like I said, he's not really playing a real role, and maybe that incentivizes the Chiefs to get Fulton kind of going. You know what I mean? Because there's one less body to worry about in that DB room. And but you're right, man. Bringing up Knowles from the practice squad, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that is an indication. I mean, that kind of says stuff out loud without really saying it. And the Chiefs are a very intentional team. They speak with their actions. They don't speak with their words.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's one good thing, right? I see people in the chat say agree in Veach we trust. 100% in Veach we trust. Because there's some teams out there who will pay money to a guy, and they'll just play him. Even though he doesn't fit, he's not right for the squad, but they'll play him just because, hey, we paid him all this money, you're going to play him. We're not like that. He's like, you know what? Actually, this undrafted guy actually looks better than him, or this 4th round pick looks better than him. We're not going to play him just because we paid him, and that's something you have to love with our squad. You have to love that.
And that's the thing, though, is we haven't even seen Fulton play yet, so we don't even know if he is that guy that's not good enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's true. Go for Casey forever. I'm sure other teams are seeing Fulton not playing in with this contract. Yeah, I mean, sure, but some teams need cornerbacks. You watch some of these game plays, man, like Dallas's defense, the Jets defense, the Commanders defense. Some of these teams need secondary help, big time. Jeremy Gallagher, thanks for having Lance on. He got a new viewer tonight after your conversation with Marcus. Hey, I appreciate you, Jeremy. Jeremy, sometimes you guys are on Twitter. Lance and I talk about this stuff all the time. Don't believe everything you hear, because sometimes people will say, like, they'll roll their eyes at a guy's tweet, like, Lance. Lance, like I said, he's infamous because some people cannot stand his tweets for whatever reason. He's a guy with an opinion, like everybody else. Every other schmuck out there is an opinion. He's never rude. He's never controversial. Some people think his tweets are controversial as far as, like, his takes. But again, Lance is a golden dude. We love him on the show. And yeah, like I said, go check him out on the Spoken Podcast. And don't believe everything you hear on Twitter, because all that stuff, whatever.
Marcus, you're gonna make me blush, dude, and I don't appreciate that. I can't do that in front of the people, dude. You know what I mean? I can't get rosy cheeks right now, dude. I can't do that. I'll end up looking like a garden gnome if you keep doing that, bro. No, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate Jeremy for saying that, man. That's awesome. just being here on the show with my buddy, man. That's this is the stuff I live for. Honestly, guys, I love this stuff. Every Saturday and Tuesday when I do my normal shows, at the end of it, you ask anybody that's around me, I am whimsical beyond belief. I'm like Willy Wonka in a musical, dude. Like I get so happy because I get to talk with people that have a similar interest that I do, man, and we love the same stuff. So, because we live in a crazy ass, dude, we live in a crazy ass world where everyone disagrees on everything. Like being able to be around like-minded people that even if they disagree with my stuff, we can at least have a chat and be cool about it and like walk off and dap up. Like that's what it's all about. I love that stuff. I can't get enough of it, dude. So yeah.
Yeah, and I would say sports is a nice distraction to what is going on out there in the real world, and that's what it is on the Chief Concerns and on your show. It's all love, it's all positive energy, and all positive vibes. When we come in here, we're talking Chiefs football, we're talking football, and we're having a good old time with each other. And Del Monte Green Beans says, "If Santa was pimping," talking about you.
That's awesome, dude. I love it.
Dustin Orton, Lance, you got a follower today as well. There you go.
That's what I'm talking about. That's my boy Dustin, dude. He's he's a good guy. He's a big time regular on the Spoken as well, man. He's always one of the first in the chat. So yeah, man. If he Dustin, hopefully you're on the Chief Concerns, bro. This is the best show in the community, brother.
Hey, now we welcome all. We also have some Raiders fans. Some Raiders fans come in here, spend some money in our chat too, which is unreal.
That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, he's one of a kind. I appreciate you, Dustin, though, man. All right, so now we're going to get to previewing Week 8. And again, this is a game going into the season that, it was kind of circled on the calendar, right? Like, you see the Commanders, you see Jaden Daniels, and it's like, oh, hell yeah, we're going to see the new school quarterback versus our GOAT right now, which is Patrick Mahomes. And now we're not going to get that. We're going to get Patrick Mahomes going against a really crappy defense and a really crappy secondary, which if we're not going to get the quarterback duel, at least we're going to get Mahomes to have some fireworks in this game. So the Chiefs' offense has shown signs of really starting to explode, generating chunk plays and scoring in bursts. The Commanders, on the other hand, have been prone to giving up big explosive plays lately. 6 plays of 15-plus yards against the Bears and big gains by both Dak Prescott, Javonte Williams, George Pickens, and CeeDee Lamb against the Cowboys last week, which that was a disaster to watch. Lance, like we just said, this Commanders defense is rough. They're also down their leading pass rusher in Dorrance Armstrong, who's done for the year. And I think the guy had like 5 sacks before leaving. I know we've already had a statement game on the Sunday night game against the Lions, against everyone. A lot of people said they were NFC favorites to come out of the NFC in the Super Bowl this year. But how much of an offensive statement can the Chiefs make this week against the Commanders defense on a standalone Monday night game? Most Monday night games in the last few weeks have been doubleheaders, but apparently, coincidentally, the 2 weeks we play on Monday night, there is no doubleheader. We're a standalone game. Obviously, the Commanders have their problems on defense, but how big of a statement game could this be for our offense to show the world that, hey, like this is week 2 of Rashee Rice. The last time you saw us in Jacksonville, we didn't even have a full cast of characters. We still scored 28 points in that game. How much of a statement can we actually make against the Commanders in this game on Monday?
I don't think they can make a real statement to the public because you've already seen people downplay everything the Chiefs have done as they've in this resurgence after week 2. There's nothing. I genuinely believe we're at that point now of this dynasty where there's just gonna be a downplaying effect no matter what the Chiefs do against whoever. I mean, they just beat the Lions by 13 points a little over a week ago, 2 weeks ago now. And all people talked about was the refs rigging the game for the Chiefs, even though the Lions just got one of the most egregious overturn calls against the Bucs I've ever seen. But that doesn't matter. The Chiefs do what they do against the Raiders, have one of the single greatest, most dominating games I've ever seen from a football team of my life. I've been watching football for 3 decades, and I don't know if I've ever seen a game more dominant, one-sided than that game. I mean, the Chiefs had as many first downs as the Raiders had offensive plays. That is stupid. And all we heard was, yeah, but you beat up on the Raiders, so who gives a shit? Like, that's all I heard. You know what I mean? And look, I'm at the point now where I'm okay with that. I say all that to say, because of the fact, even if Jaden Daniels was playing, let's say the Chiefs just clapped him, I don't think anybody holds that and says, look, the Chiefs, man, holy crap, watch out. Like, no one's going to do that because people are so sick of seeing this team win on primetime, regular games. Doesn't matter, dude. Like, people are sick of seeing this team win. They're always going to try to find the caveat or the downplaying effect to whatever they do out there. So, to answer that question, I don't think there's much. What I will say in this game, what I want to see the Chiefs do, obviously I'm not concerned. I'm just going to go ahead and spoil it here. I'm not concerned about this game in the grand scheme of whether the Chiefs are going to win it or not. They are going to win this game. What I think that where I find this game to be interesting, and this might not make a lot of sense, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from. It's everything after this game that I'm focused on, and I hope the Chiefs are. I don't believe in trap games with the Chiefs. I don't think that in the Mahomes era that's something they really struggle with. I don't think they overlook opponents. But I do know one thing. The Chiefs do hold things back. We definitely know that. We know that Spags shows this blueprint defensively, and if they see teams again in the playoffs, these teams look completely lost from the first time they played. So why is that? Oh, that's because Spags is ahead of his time, and he's the greatest DC I think this league has ever seen. And the Chiefs have the best coaching staff in the NFL. I think Andy Reid's the best coach in the league. Not perfect, but the best. And I think that the Chiefs see this game as an opportunity to do just that. Because of the fact that the rest of this season, the Chiefs face one NFC opponent. That is the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. The rest of their opponents are AFC teams, and four of their five divisional games remain on their schedule after this game. So this is why I was excited about getting Rashee Rice back at the time they did, and I was hoping he gets suspended at the beginning of the year because the Chiefs have a backloaded schedule with divisional games. That's why I wasn't worried when the Chiefs started out 0-2 and lost to the Chargers and struggled out the gate, because I knew how many games at the back end of the season were there for the Chiefs to basically reestablish themselves and get caught back up, and it's already happening because the Chargers are faltering while the Chiefs are ascending. So I look at this game as the Chiefs. This might sound disrespectful to the Commanders, so I apologize in advance. I look at this game as kind of like the Chiefs scrimmaging. I'm just going to say it.
So, so it's an extension of the fourth quarter of the Raiders game, essentially.
Yes, that I really truly believe the Chiefs are gonna. I don't think they're gonna come into this game saying, "All right, man, let's go drop 45 tonight," or "Hey, let's beat this team by 30. Let's just keep that." I think the Chiefs are gonna want to have fun because it's a standalone game. Obviously, it's Monday night. It's at Arrowhead. Things are gonna be rocking. Everyone's feeling good. Patrick's gonna put on a show early, but I really do believe, like you just said, Andy's gonna be like, "All right, guys, we have a 24-6 lead. Let's put on the brakes and let's just work on some things. Let's kind of slow this game. Let's shorten the game. Let's get some run plays in here. Believe it or not, I think Andy's actually going to run the ball a little bit. And I think they're just going to work on some stuff because their next game is in Buffalo. I don't think the Bills are the same team they have been in the past, but we do know there's a certain level of respect and gamesmanship between these two teams that has to be taken in consideration. And like I said, Chiefs take a bye after that and then immediately go to Denver. So if you look and oh, by the way, the game after the Denver game, guess who it is? The motherfreaking Colts, the team that they're new darlings. Everyone's saying that team's going to the Super Bowl. Really, they're just the AFC version of the 2024 Vikings. But I'll talk about that later. The point I'm trying to make is there are much bigger games down the pike for the Chiefs coming up. I look at this game as that game where let's stay healthy. Let's get some stuff tidied up. Some of the things that we haven't been so great at, like the pass rush, getting the run game going a little bit more, situational football. Let's make sure we stay tight with that. They've gotten better at that over the last few weeks where they, get the third downs and fourth downs done. They're catching passes. They're not dropping touchdowns. They're getting better at that stuff. Let's keep that stuff going. Let's utilize this game as one of those opportunities, and let's keep this ball rolling. Let's get ready for some big AFC showdowns that are going to be coming down the pike, man. So that's how I envision them utilizing this game.
Do you remember the years, I guess the yesteryear, right, when we had DeMarcus Robinson, we had with Tyreek Hill, we had all those guys, and we would throw for 40 points pretty easily. And we'd be 5 touchdown performances. Mahomes threw for 400 yards. I mean, I was looking the other day, like I was going back somewhere to see when was the last time he threw for 250 plus 3 times. And I was like, I was kind of going through a rabbit hole. I'm like, man, he used to throw for 300 consistently. All the time. And again, around those times, we didn't have the best defenses, right? It was mostly Mahomes' show. And then when we had a better defense, offense kind of slouched a little bit. But I guess for me, it's like we haven't, we've dominated the Raiders. We dominated the Lions. No one wants to talk about that. We dominated the Ravens. But, I would love for us to have a game, because we see it every year, right? Like the Lions do it multiple times a year where they just go and score 6-7 touchdowns on teams and whatnot. Like last year, right? There was plenty of games where Amon-Ra scored, Gibbs, Montgomery, Laporta, all of them were scoring touchdowns in games. We haven't had a game like that. And last week could have been that, but they called the dogs off super early in that game. And that was kind of, honestly, I don't know how you felt, but it felt like a preseason game to me because it was kind of a snooze fest. That when Mahomes put the hat on, I'm like, oh, really? Come on. And then, you didn't play the whole fourth quarter. I'm like, okay. I mean, I would love it, and I don't think it's a statement game by any means, but I think it is a game where like we can show the world like, hey, the offense is back. And week 2 of a guy being back, I know Rice was back last week and he was healthy right before that, so it wasn't like a return from an injury, but it kind of was, right? Because we hadn't seen him since he played in preseason, but we hadn't really seen him in a full action game in a long time. But week 2 of a guy being reinserted into an offense, it'll feel more natural, right? There won't be forced targets. Because, I mean, there was times in that game where Mahomes did force the ball to Rashee Rice, who must, threw a pick, trying to get the ball to Rashee. And I feel like they're going to try to fix that stuff up. And I feel like a team that's allowing explosive plays and a team that's wanting the explosive play like us. Because last week, outside the bomb to Tyquan and the where Kelce was wide open, there wasn't that many bombs last week, so to speak. I know every week we try to hit on those. There wasn't really that many explosive plays. It was kind of like, methodically working it down the field and just dominating them. But I feel like this could be a spot where we could say, hey, like, let's have fun with this game, just bombs away kind of deal. Because we haven't had like a 400-yard Patrick Mahomes game in a while. And I think this is the kind of team that you can do that against. Because we saw Dak, CeeDee Lamb at 100 yards in the first half against the Commanders last week.
Yep.
I mean, that's the kind of potential we could do on a primetime game. And when I say statement, I mean statement like that. Being the Commanders isn't a statement, but beating the Commanders in a way where our offense is like as fireworks, like the way they've been allowing, that's where I see a statement coming from.
And Marcus, it's so funny, bro, how much you and I think alike in that area, because those are the games I miss. I ain't gonna lie. Like I miss seeing Patrick Mahomes just light up the scoreboard. That stuff is so much fun because you know me, I'm a statistician. I love talking about like, he's creeping up on this all-time quarterback and his averages, and like I love like tweeting stuff like that. The problem though is, and you did allude to it, you made all the points, is that we're in a different era of the Mahomes era, if that makes sense. Like we're now at that point now where the Chiefs are like, okay, like we've established the fact that we are the face of this league. Patrick Mahomes leads, every aspect of this team, and as long as he's healthy and as long as we have enough around him, we're gonna at worst be in the AFC Championship. So they've established that, and the way that Brett Veach has constructed this roster by investing so heavily in the draft and the defensive side and giving Spags what he needs to give that true backing. Because like you said, the majority of those 350 plus yard, 4 touchdown games came when the Chiefs had the 24th or 27th ranked defenses, and it was out of necessity. And Andy Reid being notorious for never really stepping on the throat of his opponent, because he has so much respect and reverence for the opposing coach, sometimes to a fault. It drives me nuts sometimes because it isn't your job to stop your guys, it's their job. But that's just how I see it. I'm a greedy fan. I love to see high scoring games. That's just how it is. I would rather blow out everybody 35-7 every week. I don't give a damn. But I everything considered, I think they're going to come into this game, like I said, knowing very well that they're going to win this game, and they can win this game in like 5 different ways that they wanted to. I think they're going to go out there and they're obviously going to they're going to respect their opponent, because this is an NFL team at the end of the day. They know that Dan Quinn's a good head coach, and they got some skill on this team. So I don't think they're going to go out there and disrespect them and just roll the ball out there and start shimmying on them and doing, dance moves. I think they're going to go out there and take them seriously, and I think they're going to whoop their ass for about 2 quarters. And then when those 2 quarters are up, you're going to see, like I said, the Chiefs get ultra conservative, and it's going to be very similar to that Raiders game. I really do believe the Chiefs are going to get themselves a 2-3, touchdown lead, and then they're going to be focusing on everything else, staying healthy, keeping guys in rhythm, playing some backups and getting them confident as well, getting them some reps, and getting ready for much more important games. Because I'm with you. I'd love to see the high-scoring, high-flying game where for 4 quarters they just put it on their opponent. They're looking at the big picture. They're saying, hey, we got some big opponents coming up, AFC teams that we need to get caught up in the record. Because as we know, as it stands, the Chiefs aren't even in the playoff picture, as crazy as that sounds.
I know.
Tied for second in their own division, yet they're the Super Bowl favorites. Like, it's the wildest.
It's nuts.
I tweeted it out. I said, as many wild things that have happened in the Mahomes era in this dynasty, I do think the wildest thing is happening right now, that they are the prohibitive Super Bowl favorites. Everyone knows they're coming for that trophy again.
Yep.
And they're not even in the playoffs. So I think the Chiefs are looking at the big picture, and they're saying, let's just stay healthy, one game at a time, those cliches, and they're going to utilize this game as that opportunity to build upon what they're currently doing and getting ready for a back-to-back road games against AFC opponents, the Bills and Broncos, and then the Colts at home.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, like you said, the games we have coming up here are nuts, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've seen a lot of people say this is a trap game, like you mentioned, is, they're going to be focusing on the Buffalo Bills when they go to play Washington. No, they're not. They're not going to be focusing on the Buffalo Bills. They know that's coming up, but they're not focused on that. Right. And JD always says trap games is a made up media narrative. There's no such thing as a trap game.
Who would know better than a player that was in the league for over a decade? I mean, come on.
Yeah, right. But we talk about the Commanders. I mean, no Jaden Daniels this week. Jaden Daniels is hurt with a hamstring injury, so I feel for him and all the things. I mean, living in the DC area, I know how this fan base is, man. Like, very fickle fan base, but very, I wouldn't say loyal, because they turn on their guys pretty fast. But I will say, they went through the tough stuff with the RG3, great rookie year. Then the following year, just it kind of downhill with all the injuries. I hope it's not the case with Jaden Daniels. Multiple injuries already this year. But Marcus Mariota, who the Chiefs know very well will be the starting quarterback against us this week. And I have to say this, Marcus Mariota, probably one of the better backup quarterbacks in the league. The guy's been in the playoffs. The guy's beaten us in the playoffs. Heisman Trophy winner. A guy who, if you're going to have like a poor man's version of Jaden Daniels, Marcus Mariota is probably a good poor man's version of Jaden Daniels. He can move. He's mobile. And the two games he started this year, I mean, put up points, put up 41 against the Raiders, and they put up like 24 or 27 against the Falcons. So he can score. I mean, if not Lincoln Riley, but Cliff Kingsbury. If Cliff Kingsbury's gonna have a quarterback to run his offense, Marcus Mariota is the next best guy to do that outside Jaden Daniels. So this is a guy, no slouch, and Chief fans know that very well. But at the same time, with Jaden Daniels being out, they're going to bring back some of their hosses. Deebo Samuel will be back after missing a game, and Terry McLaurin will be back after missing the last 4 games. So it's looking like they'll both be back in this game. So obviously we talk about the trap game aspect offensively. Defensively, if you had to say, I mean, as far as being worried about a team, and I'm not saying we're going to play down to a competition, but Marcus Mariota is obviously not Jaden Daniels. He's no Pro Bowler by any means. He's not a bad quarterback. He's not Browning from the Cincinnati Bengals, but he's solid. But they're going to have these weapons back this week, and we've already been kind of tested. And I love the way that our schedule worked out. We were already tested by a lot of teams who have top weapons and whatnot. But going into a game where Deebo Samuel's coming back, Terry McLaurin's coming back, how worried are you about, I guess, being tested by this kind of, I would say pretty progressive offense that Cliff Kingsbury runs against us?
Yeah, so I'm glad that's the question, because I will be honest with you, as confident as I am that the Chiefs are going to win this game, there is one area that does concern me, and it's not opposing running backs, it's not opposing wide receivers, skill position players at all. I mean, Spags has done a masterful job at making guys like Jahmyr Gibbs look human. I mean, who does that? So I'm not concerned about that. The one thing that the Chiefs defense has been consistently not good at all season is stopping running quarterbacks. Even guys that don't run on a normal basis looking like, I mean, Trevor Lawrence looked like Michael Vick with a blonde wig on the other day. Like, what the hell happened there? I was so confused how they didn't have a single spy at any point of that game. Justin Herbert infamously ran for that 3rd and 14 to win the game, put the game on ice. The first 5 games of the season, the Chiefs defense gave up 176 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks. Now, you played Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Herbert. Those are really good quarterbacks, so obviously that's, a risk you take. But at the same time, that is something that I grow concerned with, especially when you are playing a quarterback like Marcus Mariota, who is known to be a very mobile quarterback, very agile, can extend drives with his feet. Like, that is something to take in consideration. Deebo Samuel being a versatile player, also, you have to respect these guys. You have to take that seriously. The one thing I will say that I could see that the Chiefs can't do to make this game just unnecessarily close, where the Chiefs have to play all 4 quarters and it ends up being like a 7-point victory, is the Chiefs giving the Commanders life, giving them hope. What do I mean by that? Famously, what the Chiefs have done for the last couple of years is they start off slow offensively, right? There's a couple 3 and outs, and the Commanders get a field goal. They're up 3-0 surprisingly to start the game, and then the Chiefs have another 3 and out, and then Marcus Mariota's all of a sudden feeling really, really confident about himself. And
Yep.
you know, everybody loves to rally around their backup quarterback, especially a guy that's as beloved as a veteran like Marcus Mariota, who just, you know, everybody respects. Everybody likes him. The quarterback, I felt so terrible for him in that quarterback series because he didn't belong, but you still felt bad for him.
I know it was really awkward.
Yeah, it was so awkward because he had like no reason to be in that show, but you still love the guy, right? That's the kind of stuff that can get a team like that to ignite on the road because everybody's against them. You know, that's going to be the rally cry from the coaching staff this whole week is no one believes we're going to do this. We're down our star quarterback. We're facing the dynasty. They're in their house on Monday Night Football. Nobody believes you. Like, that's going to be just instilled in these dudes.
Yep.
So if you give them any life, and Arrowhead has that like disgruntled vibe, as you know, because everyone's going in there thinking, oh, we're about to watch the light show, and the Chiefs are just going to put up points, and then the game starts off like that, that's going to make some weird vibes across the arena. And you know that Joe and Troy Aikman are going to definitely lean into that because they love talking that crap on the Chiefs. So that's the only scenario I see that makes this game just kind of stupid, if I could be real, is allowing Marcus Mariota to gain that confidence, that belief that, hey, you know, we actually could do this. Like, we could actually upset this team tonight. And that's the only way I say it. Do I envision that happening? No, Marcus. I think the Chiefs are definitely back offensively. I think they have one of the best. I think they have the 4th or 5th best scoring defense in the league. Shutting a team out helps with that, but you know what I'm saying. This is a very good defense. I think the Chiefs are going to take care of business early and often, kind of like I said with the Raiders. But yeah, that is the one thing I've been thinking about all week. I'm like, man, they can't give this dude any life. They got to shut him down from the beginning. They got to hit him early. They got to make sure he gets a 3 and out on his opening drive. Don't give this team any life because this is one of those teams that can wreck a Monday for us, man. And I just don't. I would hate to see that happen.
And like you said, like giving a guy confidence, right? It's like a 3-point shooter. You don't want him to see one shot going. Because once they see one shot go in, they say, "Oh shoot, okay, I got it. All right, I'm cooking tonight." Mariota is a guy who's come to Kansas City in a playoff game. And he's telling his guys, like, look, I've come to Kansas City and I've beaten them in the playoffs in a matter. Yes, it was a different team. It wasn't Mahomes. It was Alex Smith. It was a team that didn't throw touchdowns to their receivers. They only threw them to tight ends and running backs. But it was a team that, that was the favorite in the playoffs. And when I came in there and I beat them. So he's telling his guys that as well. It's like, hey, these aren't world. I mean, I've come in here in the playoffs and beaten this team before with less skill players, right? I mean, he didn't have Deebo Samuel or Terry McLaurin with those teams. I don't even. Right. Kenny Britt is number one receiver in Tennessee at the time. Like, was Kenny Britt like just engaged? Like,
was Robert Woods there?
I don't think so. I don't think so, man.
He was the Rams at that time.
He was the Rams at that time.
You're right. They had a really scarce wide receiver room.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, he's telling his guys that, like, look, like, and then, and we know how Spags' first drives are. Usually, and I'll say this, I think the Raiders' best drive last week was their first drive. I was like, oh, no, seriously? And then at the end of the game, at the end of it, he just got dominated. But, like, again, yeah, like, you give Mariota any kind of inch of, like, confidence, that's something you don't want to have. And, again, I don't think we're going to give them confidence. It's like JD always says, when you play a bad team, you make them believe they're a bad team. Go up first and you keep them down all game long, and then they'll eventually quit. So, but yeah, Mariota, talk about the rushing quarterback thing. That's the scary thing that in the 3 games he's gotten most action this year: 40 yards, 20 yards, 34 yards on the ground. So, I mean, he's got legs, man. So,
absolutely, and like I said, that's the only way the Commanders have any chance of making this game close, and dare I say even coming out with a victory, is if the Chiefs basically allow that. Because if you look at the Chiefs' losses this season, not one single time have we come away with one of these games that said, man, the Chiefs are just outmatched. Like, they just weren't the best team. Like, every game's been, well, damn, dude, like Kelce dropped the damn touchdown and went for a pick, or Patrick threw a horrific pick 6 on the goal line. Like, there was always like these moments, situational football, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, the Chiefs have to make sure they sun the Commanders early in this game and let them know, hey, bro, you guys just aren't there yet. Like, Jaden's young. You guys will get there eventually. Like, this is an up-and-coming team. Y'all ain't where we're at right now. Like, we're a dynasty. You're in our house. It's Monday Night Football. We're just about to lay this on you, so just take your beating. So that's what's about to happen. BTA, as they say. I think that's what's going to happen. I just, like I said, that the scenario that makes me kind of, quiver a little bit. Is just that idea that maybe the Chiefs don't go in there as sharp and they kind of rest on their laurels a little bit. I'm not expecting it, but it's always possible, man.
Always possible, yeah. It's any given Sunday for a reason. In this case, any given Monday. But yeah, I think we should 12.5-point favorites. I mean, we were a 10.5-point favorite. Then once Daniels was ruled out, we've gone up to 12.5-point favorites. So
right.
2 weeks in a row of being double-digit favorites is kind of crazy. And the fact that we're the betting favorite to win the Super Bowl, being a 4-3 is wild.
Wild, dude. Wild.
Yeah, like Kelce and Chris said, we were 3 plays from undefeated. Yeah, if Kelce doesn't drop that pick for the Eagles to take it, Mahomes doesn't throw the pick in the goal line against the Jags, and then
Jones doesn't line up off sides or line up on the left side and go inside and let Herbert just walk down the sideline.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, the Chiefs scored on their previous 3 drives in that game. They're catching a rhythm offensively. I'd like to believe Patrick goes in there and seals the victory if they get the ball back.
And you could also make the argument if Bucker doesn't miss the PAT, we don't have to go for 2.
Bro, now you're just making sense.
Same game.
Now you're just making sense.
All right, guys. Well, that does it for us on this episode of Chief Concerns, presented by FanDuel. We appreciate everybody coming in. And Lance, awesome having you on, man. I know it was a treat for everybody in the chat. If you guys do not, like I said, go follow and subscribe to Lance on YouTube. It's a Spoken podcast. And go follow him on @LanceTheSpoken on Twitter. So please go find this guy. Best Twitter account. If you want any good takes that people, take and they'll say it on the radio shows in Kansas City, it's this guy. They get it from this guy first. I'm sure you have a montage you could do that with, by the way.
I got a collection. Don't worry. Yeah, dude. I send you stuff. I do, man, because it's just funny sometimes. I get entertained by it. The biggest thing for me is I always love giving credit where credit's due. Like if you guys say something on your show, I am so excited to let people know. Like, dude, JD and Marcus had this awesome take the other day, and I want to say it. Like, I don't understand why that just can't be a thing, but I guess everyone just has their own approach on how they handle giving credit or not giving credit, if you will. It's okay, man. I know the good people out there do what's right. So
they want the likes. They want the likes. They want that. They want to be the ones that said they said it, and then you could say, "Well, I heard it from here." Say, "Oh, really? We must have the same take then."
Exactly. Oh, what a coincidence! The same day. Wow, we're just like-minded individuals. Holy hell! That's just It's all good fun. I laugh about it. That's why I sent it to you guys, because I know you guys feel the same way I do. It's all fun and games, dude. But we, at the same time, shows like your guys, shows like mine, and several other shows out there, we do this because we genuinely just love what we're talking about and reaching out to other people that have the same passion and zeal for something like this and meeting them. Because think about this, dude. If it wasn't for us being Chiefs fans, you and I would have never met.
Dude, I mean, yeah. I mean, I think about that all the time. Tej, I was talking about that with you. JD, if JD never played for the Chiefs, I don't think I reach out to him on LinkedIn, and I don't think we ever have this friendship that we have now.
Right. So trust me when I say I value this stuff, dude, because we don't have these connections if we don't have this love for the same team. So I don't take that stuff lightly, dude. So whenever I tweet, whenever I put stuff out there, it's not because I'm trying to get people to get upset or have a reaction. It's because I'm trying to share with you what I'm genuinely thinking or feeling in that moment. So I'm trying to get people to connect with me I don't expect people to always agree, because Marcus, you said yourself, you don't agree with everything I say, and that's totally cool, but it's about conversation, dude, and that's what I love about it. So if you guys like discourse and conversation about the Chiefs and football, I am your guy. I'm your Huckleberry, so come and hang out.
And also too, I've made comments before about how people are awful on Twitter, and people will only, they'll only retweet their own network that they're with, the KCSN or the Arrowhead Prize, or they only talk about their own people's content. But then you also see people stealing content, but also at the same point, I see stuff where people make up stuff. Like I've seen with you, for example, someone made a tweet that said that you said a long time ago, which you never said, but people are just hateful and crazy on Twitter, and it's kind of nuts. But yeah,
it's unfortunate, man, but we prevail.
We do. We move on. All right, guys. So we'll see you guys. So so Lance shows on Saturdays at 11. Correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir. 11 a.m. Central Standard Time.
And then he has a show on Tuesday nights, 7 Central Time?
6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern for those that are on the East Coast. Yes, I'm with Shaggy Shane every Tuesday. We usually have former Chiefs players. Like I said, hopefully we'll be able to get JD on there eventually. And to that point, I want to say before I get out of here also, and Marcus, thank you for asking me to come on the show, bro. You know that I'm
course,
always
man.
down to hang out with you guys. But in all seriousness, to JD and to Chad, to the entire family, you guys know my heart's with you. JD is one of the nearest and dearest people in my heart. I love that man with all my heart. I've never met Chad, but I know if he means something to JD, he's going to mean something to me. And so I wish and hope for everything to go smoothly, everything going well with the family. JD, if you watch this, if you hear this, brother, you know I love you to death. And if there's anything that I can do for you and your family, you know I got you, brother. And I'm always going to be there for you guys. And Marcus, again, thank you for having me on the show, dude. Love you to death. And I appreciate everybody that took the time to hear me jab my jaws for a couple hours tonight.
Of course, man. Hey, I told you 1 hour. We ended up doing 2 hours. It's always longer than
It flew
anticipated.
by, dude. It flew by.
It did fly by. We had a lot of things to talk about.
Absolutely.
But we'll see you guys Friday night, Tasia and I. And I don't know if JD will be back Friday, but we might get keys to victory on Friday from JD. But regardless, Tasia and I will definitely be back Friday night, 8:15 Eastern Standard Time, right on the channel for our betting show and keys to victory. And of course, we'll be back on Monday after the game. So late night, Monday night this coming week. So love y'all. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Take it easy, or good rest of the week. We'll see you guys Friday. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.